District 4, District 6, District 7,
Present.
District 8,
Present.
and District 5. Adoption of agenda. Is there any items need to be added or taken off the agenda?
Look, I want to ask you, John, I want to add item to the agenda. I know we had, they got on about discussing the interim superintendent, but I want us to have a superintendent before I added up the weeks, and it's like 5, 6 weeks to tonight. I want to be able to put on the agenda where I make a motion that we advertise for a new superintendent. And me as a board member, Madam President, would like that superintendent to be in place before in September, and after Labor Day, because we need a superintendent. And I know the two mandate positions that we have in our study law, you correct me if I'm wrong, is a mandate that we must have a superintendent and mandate that we must have a business manager. I know them the two laws that we supposed to have. So I want to put on the table, add that we advertise starting tomorrow for looking for a new superintendent, so we can have it in place for maybe 1 or 2 weeks before the fiscal year starts in school. Can I do that?
It'll take a unanimous vote to add.
Okay.
You, the legislative auditor and the Department of Education are okay with your fiscal administrator being your business manager, and it is the option of the board if you want to have an interim. You don't have to have a superintendent as long as you have an interim. But if you want to add it to the agenda, it takes a unanimous vote.
So, Madam President, I would like to add that, you can go right into the agenda.
Okay, so after that agenda, we need a vote. District 1, District 2,
Hey, let's start. You should probably ask for public comment before you start voting to add.
is there any public comment?
Now go.
District 1, to advertise for superintendent.
Yes.
District 2, District 3,
Yes.
District 4, District 5, yes. District 6,
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8. So it's been 7 said yes, no, nays no. So it'll be added to the agenda. Any other action on the agenda for being adopted? A motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
It's been motion by Mrs. Wilkins, second by Thompson, that adopted, would be adopted as good. Okay, action items. A, consider a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting May 18th, special board meeting June 8th, and regular board meeting June 18th. Motion.
May 18th and
It's been motion by Ms. Giltry and second by Patterson. C, consider to ratify and approve the out-of-state travel for the Madison Parish High School cheerleaders team to participate in UCA camp at Great Brook Lounge in Dallas, Texas on July 29th
Did
and
we
August
do
12th.
D?
Oh, review and consider, I'm sorry. You ain't putting me on first one. Review and consider the motion to adopt board meeting dates for the 2026 to 2027 school year. See option 1 from 5 and 5:30 p.m. and option 2 at 6 p.m.
Madam President, there was some discussion about somebody's work schedules, various people's work schedules, made it hard for them to get at 5:30, and I knew we had difficulty getting a quorum. So I thought that was something the board should discuss and decide.
So, board members, vote 5:30 p.m., all 5:30 p.m.
Yes,
Any, 5:30?
what,
Vote from 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
you want 5:30? 5:30,
Okay. If 2 said 5:30, 3 said 5:30. 5:30.
Why don't you get a motion and a second then?
Well, you have a motion and second, and everybody okay, 5:30 p.m.
I so move that we, keep our meeting at 5:30 p.m.
It's been moved by Fountain and second by Patterson, that we keep the board meeting for 5:30 p.m. Okay, C, consider a motion to ratify and approve out-of-state travel for the Madison Parish High School cheerleading team to participate in UCLA camp at Greatwood Lounge in Dallas, Texas on July 29th through August 1st, 26th.
So move, Madam President.
So moved by Fountain and Johnson. Item C. Item D, the motion to approve the updated job description and salary scale for the 6th through 12th grade principal.
I move that we, table this until the next meeting. I mean, nothing on here pertaining to the salary.
So you want to table D? I need a motion to table.
It was the only attachment, I don't know,
What's that? 654?
and it's no change, it's just the same. Except down at the bottom, the little stipend that they get, but it was in the packets for the last meeting, which we didn't make a quorum, and Tallulah has, she had. It's in the, I probably it's in there.
This vote, this lady.
Yeah, and it's a, salary scale.
John, when they mentioned about, cause that's a problem I had since I've been on this board, when we, with the salary scale, I saw the pay scale of the teachers. But, Ms. Finley, I would like to get Madam President so we can know, because as long as I've been sitting on the board and they say they have changed the law and they gave the superintendent all those statements to hire administrative staff. But in the policy that we have, that any salary that the superintendent achieves, we supposed to know what type of salary that is.
The board is supposed to approve the salary schedule for every position.
Correct. I don't know that, and the board don't know that, because when we supposed to know everybody's salary or what you make, every new job description that you have, this board is supposed to know what we both know. So,
It was
This
in
is
your
a member.
packets, it was in your packets, I think you got it right here.
you got this. What it don't have from the administrators on down their salary. We do not know I do not know. I say, I don't know, John. And I asked you where before you came, or what a principal made, or what a high school principal made, what a middle school principal made, what a right elementary principal made. I do know that we voted on a stipend. These are the only stipend that I ever remember that we voted on, was that Dr. Reverend at the high school was doing extra work in the evening time, was staying over, and we voted for stipend. I don't want us to get in any trouble that even if we rip it, and we cannot take stipend and give to somebody. If I'm correct, you help me, John. If I'm wrong, correct me too. That we say, well, this person here take this job, and we're going to give this person $5,000 stipend. The board supposed to know who's getting that stipend. And the board cannot tell me that they know who's getting stipend. Even at this time, if anybody have got any stipend without board approval, it's out of order. Because the board don't know.
We have to know why they're getting stipends.
Well, that's what we want to know from the beginning. I'm saying now, nobody, even after these job positions have been ripped, people have, because I don't understand, but John, when I was president, I remember that when we had to rip these people, it was something that we had to send out letters, and that's it. In 2 weeks they supposed to know. That's when I was president, and we sent letters out. I don't understand that y'all help me because I got to ask questions before I vote on something that I don't know about, because my people in my district ask questions like this. And I want you all to tell us so the whole world can hear if I'm right or wrong. When we say and give stipends, every stipend should be known to the board, even a salary increase, even a new job description, the board's supposed to know. So we don't hire people. Then I want to know if a person is in 21st century and a person is in Title I, we ripped that position, but from my calculation on the 21st century, how can we go out and give, if my salary is $55,000, $75,000, that's a grant, and the 21st century grant goes out in January 2027. We got to reapply. How can I give that 21st century salary or stipend to somebody else, and that salary, John, help me, is only for me?
So the only issue on the floor right now is whether or not we approve the updated job description and salary schedule for 6th through 12th grade principal. And we don't have a motion yet, or if we do we have a second? We need to focus on that. Now, if you need information like you talked, Ms.
Right.
Finley can give that to you.
Okay.
But my recommendation to you is that we stick to the agenda. And on item D, we have a motion to accept, to reject, or to come up with another recommendation on agenda item.
So in that salary scale, John, that we about to make a motion to approve or disapprove, the salary is in there. And I don't know what the salary is.
Will Ms. Finley make an answer to any questions you have?
I'll be happy to address it.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, it's very simple.
All I want to know is we want to know what we're doing and how much money we're approving. Do the board agree? How much money we're approving for a principal, assistant principal, elementary principal, junior high principal. That's all I've been asking for that for years.
Okay, I totally understand your question, because I know when I came in here, we had stipends all over the world last year. So I understand where you're coming from. However, we have not even begun the 26-27 school year. This is the first job descriptions and the first salary scales we're talking about for the 26-27 school year. You have the job description, and you had an administrator salary scale that was in your packet last month, but there was not a core made. Ms. Shaquela emailed those out. I see that Ms. Hargrave has one. I have one right here. Anybody's very welcome to look at.
Right here.
Jeff's got his. However, the salary scale, there is no change. This includes what was in place, plus what the board voted on a couple years ago. It's exactly like that. It explains it in detail down here at the bottom, which just took those two pieces and put them together. There's no change other than that. The job description for the principal for the high school says nothing different except 6 through 12 instead of 9 through 12. That's all we're looking at.
So, Ms. Anderson and John, if I look on here, and you got it too, Ms. Hargrave, and this is it. I have this here. It's saying the teacher's salary. I'm saying, I don't know, and I don't see it in here if a principal making $75,000 a year or a principal making $53,000 a year. Is it here? See, that's what I see.
No, it's administrator's salary schedule.
Okay.
This is the teacher's salary schedule, which is for all teachers,
Right.
okay? But then down here, it tells you what elementary supervisor gets, secondary supervisor, elementary principal, middle school principal, high school principal.
Okay.
And that's things that y'all voted on in the past.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I
It's,
see.
the administrators start from the same scale that the teachers start from.
Okay, this is what I'm asking. I see the stipends that is issued, $1,500, additional $2,500. What do a principal, a high school principal make starting off for the fiscal year? Is it $75,000 a year? Is it $55,000 a year? I don't know. When I was on the board in 2010 to 2015, we knew what the principal salary. Now I know what a teacher salary with 25 years experience. With a PhD with 25 years experience, only $57,385. That's 25, and then we don't pay out the 25. So my question is, John, if my high school principal is the principal, is his salary? I ain't talking about the additional stipend that we have on here that we're giving. What is his regular salary?
It has to be determined by the superintendent or acting superintendent. Under the law, the superintendent can go up and down this salary schedule. So if the superintendent has a great candidate from Washita,
Right.
and they say, look, I'm principal at Washita, but I'm making $55,000, but on your schedule, I don't be making 46. The superintendent can go down here and pay them $55 to recruit them to come here.
As long as it's in his salary range.
Salary range.
So if I'm looking at a principal saying $57,000, then I get an end of the tax, a principal making $75,000. That ain't the pay sheet.
And I don't know how that.
Okay.
All salary scales are calculation, and that starts from many, many years ago when the state sent us a new salary scale every year. When they changed the MFP, then it was kind of to the school systems to develop their own salary schedules based kind of on the same methods that were used before.
I'm not saying they don't deserve to get it. I just, the board, like John just said, if a principal, say the high school, if it went up, they're target, and you come and say, well, this principal, schools have done great. And it comes before the board and say, we'd like to give him $10,000 more to the salary. Well, the board's supposed to vote on this. That's all I'm saying. But when I look at all the stuff that y'all have sent us, and I'm saying that if anybody, I'm talking about now, if people have been ripped, we're not using stipends given to anybody else right now without coming to the board.
Well, that's not even what we're talking about tonight at all.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
and we're going to get to some of that, but that's not on the agenda tonight.
Okay. And all I was saying, Ms. Fenton John, and to save us, is that if you're going to get anybody in the stipend and the salary, I think it would save all of us what the board would know to approve. Is that correct?
You should, if someone is going to be paid more than what's in the board approved job description, it ought to come before the board.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And another thing, just so y'all know, if I came in as a principal with my years of experience and my degree, and you came in as principal with your years of experience and degree, we probably wouldn't make the same thing, even when we were the principal at the same school, because all that's geared to your experience and your degree and, you know, what your background was. So,
And the reason why we did that before you came for the high school is because the principal goes out with the team, they come in late, and we put stipend for the high school principal because sometimes he or she may not leave till 2 o'clock in the morning, coming off, and they deserve it. But all I was asking to make the board when y'all came with the pay scale, and no offense on you all, is that we just need to know what the pay scale is gonna be for, you got from 6 to 12. What is the pay scale gonna be for them before we make the motion to approve it out of the?
well, you know, this is another comment on that. We're fixing to start paying 12-month employees their first check in July.
Okay.
And if we don't have a salary scale approved and a job description approved for those two positions, then we're kind of lost there. Now, we do have some more changes that are coming, but they're changes that have occurred since, the RIF. And so those will be addressed as soon as we can after that.
Now, I know, Ms. Debbie, that we are low on funding, and when you say about the job description, I look at some of these people got, and I don't know how they're gonna do it and how we're gonna work it out. John, if you read over your additional job description that they have, if somebody, people got 4 and 5, 3, 4, 5 jobs they're doing. And if they're doing 3 and 4 jobs, now this is what gets me, I know we on them. If we are able to give stipend, I definitely want to give these people stipend. If we are able, that is doing more than one job. I have looked on here, some of these people got 3, 4, 5 different jobs. And I don't know how they gonna do it, but when I looked over the job description and read it, if they doing, and we don't pay them nothing, I say if we are able to get them some incentive for all these different jobs, we should be able to do that. I have no problem with that. Now, I'm on one board member. Whatever y'all think, I think that's fair because you got to put the work on it from what you're saying because we don't have the funding. So, the person, I work the job. That man, if they don't tell me to do 5 or 6 jobs, hey, I'm looking for some pay. And then you always working. If you work overtime, I want comp time, I want money time. That's the issue that I'm looking at. There are a lot of these people that some of them are not getting paid. John, that we done added more job description to. That's a lot. And we got 3 schools that we hope the grades come up. But I don't know how they're gonna be able to do it. May motivate them to help do it if we offer them something, if we able. That's your area. You hold that finance. I don't step in on that finance area, but I do step in on that. If they're doing more than one job, by law, we can't make them do it, and we can't terminate it if they decide not to do it. So while he is there, what are we going to do? Because they are, I know you have overloaded staff, because you had to. But if we got stipend, Madam President, our attorney, and we able to give stipend, and We should be able to do something. That's all. And we back on the scale, Council. I'm sorry if I got off board, but it's just so much.
I think at this point, we need to worry about being able to have this salary.
I agree. But you want to know what the salary is, right?
What is here?
You still ain't heard what I said when you said right here. You hadn't heard it. Are you listening to me what I'm saying? I'm saying that if you talk to Ms. Simpson and you ask her, some of these salaries that you looking at, that you saying right here, out of 25 years, not 57,000. And if you heard John, when you say right here, if you heard John said it should be nothing over that 57,000.
Down here, as Ms. Finley said,
Uh-huh.
you take the salary up here and you apply these numbers here. Right.
But they want to add 75,
But what I'm saying is, you can go see Ms. Finley
Okay.
or Ms. Lofton, and they will be able to show you how it's.
But the reason I asked the question, John, is because they got on the table, John. You know me and you know each other. And the reason I asked the question is because of, I'm asking the question is because this do not add up to $75,000. With these stipends.
If you have a specific question, like, I don't believe this person right here is being paid in accordance with the salary schedule, she can explain it to you. So we can get out here, we can, and your concerns are valid.
They might be.
No, that's right. But I'm saying, they can show you.
Yeah.
I just don't want to go on something that you know that we, you know better not. Go ahead. I'm through.
Is there any more questions from the board?
Is there a motion and a second on the table?
Is there a motion second? Okay, we have questions from the audience. Any questions from the audience?
Can't hear you back here. Okay, you're not speaking into the microphone. You're not.
You might get your name off.
I have a question.
Okay.
May I post?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon. Candy Hall, retired educator. I have push that button.
Push the button.
Push a button?
Yeah.
Right here, that's
Yeah.
Bring this thing down? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. As it refers to the job descriptions, I think I heard someone say, might have been a fiscal administrator, that the job scale, the pay scale had not changed. So if the pay scale has not changed, why are they having this vote on it if it has not changed in years? The adjustment should not be much, or it should be obvious if the pay scale has not changed. So that's my question, because you did make that comment when you was referring to something that Reverend Fountain said, that the pay scale has been around for a long time.
Well, it started out from the state, and then, of course, the parish has made changes through the years. I'm not aware of the history of all that.
I was part of the history, so I'm aware of it.
But whatever they've done here and voted on is what that salary scale is. Now, Reverend Fountain made reference to an additional stipend that they had voted in because of the additional work. I've got a copy of it right here.
Right.
This additional compensation is for the countless hours expected from administrators after regular working hours for the administrator's fiscal presence and responsibilities. The time must include, but not be limited to, community involvement, parental involvement, special events such as games, town hall meetings, board meetings, etc., which will be considered during the staff's evaluation. And then it has principals, elementary 2,500, middle 5,000, high 7,500, which you'll see on the bottom of that sheet that you're looking at. Assistant principals, and there's amounts, likewise, 1,500, 2,500, 3,500. Elementary supervisor, 1,500. Secondary supervisor, 2,500. So that was an item voted on by the board a couple years ago. So what we did is we took the scale that y'all used last year, incorporated this into to it down at the bottom, so it was complete. That's the only time.
So in other words, instead of having it in the minutes here, the minutes there, you put it all in the one.
Exactly.
Okay, so are they actually approving something different in essence, or is that what they're?
No.
Okay, all right, so really, there shouldn't be a debate, but what about the fiscal solvency of the district once you laid off all the people? Aren't you trying to get some stability? You're trying to adjust the pay scale for people, and I understand everybody, I had 5 extra jobs. I didn't get compensated for only just the one, my main job. So with the adjustments financially that you've already made, why are you trying to issue them out in administrative salaries when your first thought would be the teachers first?
Well, we haven't changed any of those scales at all at this point. We are working on those that are taking on heavy duties. So that's a possibility, but that won't happen until the board votes on it.
What do you consider heavy duties?
Those 5 or 6 you were talking about.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, those were whole positions that all they did was pass them on to other people if you were certified in those areas, but.
And any of that will be nominal, because as you stated, we're in a financial crunch
Right.
that is extreme, and we're gonna talk about that a lot later tonight.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you.
And Board and Ms. Wilson and Ms. Hargrave, you asked so many questions way back in 2010 about from up to now. It's not funny to me when I sit here and ask questions because I was elected to ask questions. It's nothing to put on you, it's nothing to put on me. But I've been here, some people ain't lived here all their life, don't even care about this community. I've been here all my life. And it hurts my heart. It may not bother some of you all, that in the history of Madison Parish School System, we had never been in this situation. You laughed at me 3 years ago, and look where we at. This is not funny. 100-some people been laid off that lives here, that our people got to go find some job somewhere else. But it's funny. Some of them old mouth with cold water in it, but it's funny. But it's not funny to me. People want to play games like they're concerned about this community, and we losing people that have graduated from here, valedictorian from here, staff from here, been here all their life. And I got to see those people go to Williamsburg, Bridgewood. That's not funny to me. Y'all can say here, I'm going to live without this job. I live 8 years without it. But as long as I'm on this board, you can dislike me, say I'm wrong. If you could listen to me, we wouldn't be here. But then y'all get mad because they paid me to ask questions. If I don't know, I'm supposed to ask questions. And I don't know. I don't know your job. You wasn't here when we got broke. You was here, Wilson. You was there. You was right here. And I voted against it. So you did. So, don't lie. But they laugh at me. Y'all tell them. Don't let John know me. I got history with John. John represented me, did an excellent job. But I have always asked questions. And I'm going to ask until I die. But don't look at me and think I'm causing a problem. Look where we at. Look where we at. And that makes me mad. We shouldn't have to call her here. We should have took care of business. Then laugh at here it is. I apologize, but don't try to make me ignorant. Because I'm not ignorant. I've been called by law well knowledgeable. Thank you.
Madam President, is there, we need a motion and a second.
This is a motion on item D. We want a motion in a second.
The motion is that as long as the pay scale.
Motion taken.
Oh, you
Motion
changed
to
it?
table.
Was there a second?
But didn't you just say?
You had to make a motion to
Oh.
table it. Is there a second?
Did you hear what she said?
I
minister just said is that they got to get that July 25th pay scale, right? Is this what we passed, right? My motion is to the board, our motion that we do the pay scale as long as the pay scale is staying between the salary scale of our school policy.
I'm sorry. I didn't-
My motion is as long, we're doing the job description and the pay scale. My motion is that as long as the salary scale stays is what the board policy have notarized, I make a motion that we pass.
So let me rephrase it, you tell me if I'm right. It's the motion of Reverend Fountain to approve this job description and salary schedule, and that nothing be paid outside the four corners of that document.
That's right. That's right. Most, okay.
Need a second. It's been moved by Fountain and second by Patterson for consider approval of a pay scale. Not limited to any additional pay. Okay, item E, all in favor say aye. Nay. Item E, a motion to approve the job description and salary scale for the Wright Elementary School principal.
The same thing.
Need a motion.
So move, motion that we do.
Any questions from the audience? Motion by
Me.
I have a question on that item. Is the job description different from what it used to be? You still, because you all are saying, the administrator is saying.
It is not different. We're just trying to do exactly what Representative Fountain has mentioned, approve each salary scale and description as we go along, and these were pertinent to move into. We have others that'll be coming up, but that's all that this was, because, and what we're supposed to do is adopt salary scales every year. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. Well, when I went back and looked at everything, there were no salary scales adopted for 24-25 school year.
Okay.
And so, and actually for 25-26. So we're going in and trying to adopt the scales. Going forward, we're just getting started for the 26-27 school year. Every job description, every job is gonna have a description and a salary scale.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I said motion on the floor for E. Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
I noted that the fiscal administrator mentioned that they were dealing with 12-month employees, and they wanted to get those salaries done before the beginning of this year. Are these the only two 12 months?
No, they are not. But we just recently have done some changes and figured out some job descriptions for those. So before we move ahead with any changes, they'll be approved at the next meeting.
Will that affect those 12-month employees' pay?
It will go into effect effective July after it's adopted.
So what you're saying is you're gonna bring it back and make it you're gonna bring it and make it retro?
Correct.
I don't think you're able to, I don't know if you're allowed to bring that and do it in retro in that manner. Is that possible?
Yes, it is, as long as it's in the school year and the job description and the jobs have changed. So it's not exactly the same job description that it was before.
Wouldn't it have been prudent to prepare all of that and present it at this
Well,
time?
it absolutely would have, had there been time.
How much time did we need? We've had a fiscal administrator almost a year, and these things have been noted, that there's been problems with job descriptions prior to you coming. Does it take that long to prepare those job descriptions? And to point, the Madison Parish School Board has policies in place. They are directly responsible for those approving all job descriptions, no matter which ones and all salary schedules as they are adopted. So all of those have to come before this board. And if I'm correct, this board here had put in place that all stipends, I remember when I was there, all stipends that come through in any shape or form should come before this board for approval. And I think that's part of the problem, as it was stated, that we're in a predicament we're in now because there were stipends that happened along the way that were not looked at or not approved by the board. So I think that was something to speak to some of the concerns that the representatives had spoke to. So definitely, I think it would have been prudent
Well,
to be better prepared to have presented all of those before the board, to have them have an opportunity to look at those job descriptions and to see any additions, those changes or jobs that you're going to be adding to other people. From my understanding, some of these people are already expected to and are working in those capacities as we speak. So therefore, those should have been presented to this honorable board and in their package, at least to have them consider those things prior to having those persons work on them and going back and having to redo these things after.
Sir, I totally agree with you. However, time is very limited. There's been a lot of work to be done as far as balancing the budget, which again, you'll see more in detail as we follow along in the meeting.
Yes, ma'am. I do believe that those things probably would have been able to be accomplished a little bit better if the fiscal administrator was in the position to deal with those things that are just relative to the fiscal administrator and have had a business manager in place to take care of those things. But we have a part-time business manager now who's only in the district 3 days out of the week when this district deserves, in its fiscal position that it's in, deserves and needs, and by law is required to have a full-time business manager.
Any more questions from the audience?
I would like to say this job description was brought up now because of the difference. It's encompassing grades 6 through 12. We consolidated the elementary, not elementary, but the
Middle school.
middle school and high school. And we eliminated the middle school principal because the state came in and said we need to do that. So that's why we did that. So therefore, there's a different job description that includes 6th through 12th grade.
Let's do a motion, we'll do a motion by council.
Yeah.
Did you get a second?
Wait, no. To approve the same thing what we did for the high school job description. Transparency along the state.
Okay, we move by Councilman, second by Ms. Goldberg. Item B. Item F, consider a motion to approve.
We need to vote on that.
Okay, we need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay? Motion carried. Item F, consider a motion to approve the Lewis and Best Child Nutrition Program bid for produce from Robinson Produce in Monroe, Louisiana, open July 15, 2026. No other produce bids have been received. No bids for equipment service or repair, garbage removal, or kitchen chemicals and service were received. Bid documents are on file in the Child Nutrition Supervisor and Fiscal Administrator.
That's for Ms. Allen, right?
Ms. Adams,
The
yes.
one that you verified.
Can I
Okay.
make a comment on this one?
Okay.
Okay, now, it's saying that no other bids were received. And again, we voting on something, it's saying if the documents are on file, you couldn't see what the bids were.
Well, it's a huge packet, so Ms. Adams said she typically did not provide that, but y'all came to look at it if you had questions. So I know that the agendas went out last week, and so she was in her office today, but
I think the contradiction is the question is if only one bid was received, what other documents are on file? That's the question.
And how do we know? I mean, y'all seeing the bids, how do we know? I'm not saying making that up or nothing, but if we would actually see the bids, you can see if it was just one company that did.
well, Ms. Tilly at the central office was with her when she opened the bids. I was not. And that's all they received.
That's what got us in trouble now, we just reading stuff saying no other bids were received. And we gotta vote on it, then come find out 2, 3 others, you know what I'm saying? Not that they're making up that there were no other bids, but we just going by.
They never did use bids to. You don't know what they used to bring up? When we used to ask the last business administrator, manager, you know what you can tell her?
But there was more than one bid.
You wouldn't use bids.
It was advertised.
You use quotes. He would say he had quotes. And anything that was under a certain amount of money, they could open the quote. They never opened the bid in front of us. The board never voted on whether you had a contract or a bid. He never brought it before. He said it was quotes. And when it was quotes and it was under $50,000, that means they can go out and do it without even, they would just tell the board. This here was a bid that coming from, I guess, Ms. Allen. Ms. Adams, yeah. But we never heard bids. When y'all say bids, the board never did get a bid.
This was advertised bids.
Right.
They opened the bids. She
Right.
was filling, you know, school's about to start. This was on the agenda last time to
Right.
approve, and we didn't make a quorum. So she's kind of under the gun again with time because there was no quorum at the last board meeting.
I start in advance. They put documentation for the.
You're welcome to come to her office and look, or, you know, I've got a copy too, so.
Ain't this the ordering of the food for the
It's,
youth?
it's produce for the students that's
For the
going to start
students.
next month.
Right. Yeah. Well, Madam President, you asked a question. Would it be that from now on that if something like this is done, it will be brought to
I'll ask Ms. Adams to come and present to y'all anytime she does anything else in the future.
It's okay.
This is a time-sensitive thing.
This is for, this is for the students. They got you.
Well,
So-
we have more.
Well, we finna go ahead and take care of that now, right, Ms. Arthur? To make the motion to do what item that is, Madam President?
Yeah.
I want to make a quick, I repeatedly keep hearing no quorum, no quorum. But when they scheduled that, more than 2, 3 people said, or members said they was not available. So the meeting was scheduled anyway. So we never did meet again, so I want to know why wasn't that meeting rescheduled? Because was that the meeting, we didn't have a meeting in month? So why didn't the president just reschedule the meeting?
Why what?
And there were various people or members said they was not available.
Madam President, Mayor,
Yeah.
if you all did not hold Louisiana state law says that all school districts are required, mandated, to have at least one scheduled meeting, not a special meeting, but a meeting. So therefore, it needs to be looked at. You all didn't have a regular scheduled meeting, as she's talking about, during that time frame, during that month. So you didn't have a meeting at all. You have a special meeting, but special meetings don't count according to the law as a regular scheduled meeting. Therefore, you violate the law. And the second point, prior to this existing Madison Parish that we have now, all bids were looked at and opened in the presence of the business manager and the other parties. So therefore, if the state and Bessie have approved that the fiscal administrator functions in the capacity of the business manager, she's already said she wasn't there. She needs to be there when you open up these bids because she's functioning in that capacity according to the Attorney General and Bessie and all these other people. Madison Parish is a full-time business manager, not 3 days a week, but when I can get here, because they got retirement and don't want their money to affect this other issue.
Yeah, motion on the table, yeah, well, item that
Yeah.
we move that, we, step item there.
I second that, please.
Been moved by Johnson, second by Hargrave, to consider approve for L. Everybody approve?
Yeah, all in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Item G. Consider a motion to ratify and approve the 2026 staff responsibilities and rate of pay. Item G.
I'm not understanding.
That was summer school. We had that, you have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Y'all saw that? It was, again, it was on the agenda last month for, the summer schedule to be approved, to pay those people, for the work they did for summer school.
Item G is for summer school pay only.
Yes, just summer school,
These are people that work for 21st century.
correct,
Okay.
summer school.
And that's all we're saying, Wilson and the board and the Simpson and Fountain, is that it is strange to us. When we look at it on the agenda, we see a pay rate. We thinking we're in a financial situation, we get paid to somebody with this 21st century money, and it's already in the funding to go ahead and pay. Is that correct?
Is this not something y'all do every summer?
Right.
Summer school?
It just didn't say so.
I feel like if we could basically communication issues, because a lot of these things are here until we get to the school board meetings, so if you communicate, I mean, I know you probably, the superintendent, moving forward, the superintendent and president and vice president needs to make communicate and make decisions, talk things over, but there's a lot of information that does not come to text, to speak myself.
Well, understand this, summer school was something that was decided when we still had a superintendent. And so that was decided outside of or my realm of responsibilities. I was presented with these documents, looked over the dollars, we looked at the grant, was sure that that fit into the grant. We looked at what had taken place in the past, it was very similar. So, again, it wasn't something that I expected to be any different from what you had really dealt with before. But certainly, I mean, I'm here to answer any questions you have at any time. But it is just the summer school, the 21st century, like you had every year for, I guess, as long as you had 21st century.
Moving forward, is it really possible we can, get told, or should I say, about bills that's not being paid or delivered? I mean, we got to get advanced, there was something sent to the email about a bill not being paid in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Why it took so long for Kathy to read through an email that a bill in 2022? I mean, how
Are
is that?
you talking about, well, and we're gonna address some of that here in just a little bit. If you don't mind, can we put that aside for now and talk about it whenever we get to that part of it?
Is there any more questions? Any more questions from the floor? motion to consider the ratified dual pay for the summer school.
Item G,
Yeah.
I move that we consider a motion to ratify and approve the 2026 summer school, staff responsibilities grade pay.
The motion by Hargrave, the second by Wilson, item G be approved. All in favor? Nays? Item H, consider a motion to ratify and adopt a differentiated compensation plan and pay effective employees.
Okay, y'all know what that is? Okay, that's something that y'all had for some time too. Something the state provides, they give us the amount of money, and then they tell us specific guidelines that it can be paid out to people for. Again, this differentiated compensation plan, an item was decided when we still had the superintendent in place, and Ms. Lovett looked at it and followed the guidelines. We checked to be sure the guidelines were followed, and the certified people that were, and it really explains, it was $37,268, and it was to assist in the unique market needs in the recruitment and retention of teachers, trying to get certified teachers. Funds were used to pay 46 certified teachers in K through 12 schools, where 85% or higher of the students are defined as economically disadvantaged, which that meets the criteria that is spelled out by the state.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience?
I just want to, suggestion and recommendation, because we're that out here in the audience, I don't know about everybody else out here, but, you know, when we leave things to person's imagination, you always get a kind of a black area. If the agenda item were to clarify, just go back to the one with the 21st century, okay? If the agenda item had specifically stated that, saying would be paid with funds through 21st century, would that have helped you all out? It would have helped me out, because as far as following the budget, I understand the budget, and I can follow them, but in order to everybody else in the audience to understand paid out in a different funding, if that information was already on your agenda, it would help the audience out a whole lot. And then things that could be commented on from John over there, it would actually make a difference, John, because some of the things that Mr. Sims said, well, actually all of the things he said about the meeting, because they are required to have at least one board meeting in a month's time, and if they had none, that was in violation. So,
But see, the law goes on that says that if they don't have that meeting, a member of the public can petition to force them to. It
I
doesn't,
understand
that's
that.
right.
But see, you didn't comment to that effect, John. You
Look,
didn't comment.
I don't represent the public. If the board
I
has a
understand that.
question, I'll answer.
I understand that. I understand that, okay. But back to point of clarification, that, I think, to me, as a ordinance member, thank you.
I'm glad you said that, John. That's why I asked you as a board. When I asked you earlier, I do ask you questions so you can tell me. And that's why I do
And
to find out from the law.
And to comment on that missing meeting, we was trying to schedule that meeting for the year. Right?
Right.
We used all the things, but the president wanted on the 13th, we already said some of us wasn't available. That's when it was scheduled. So if part of us couldn't be here, why would you schedule it on that day? And then the president, she's not here to speak for herself, why wasn't it rescheduled?
The law allows that, if, I think it's, I think 3, 4, however many members, and John may be able to speak to that, even though he's not the public attorney as he expressed. There are certain, if you have a certain amount of members that want to have a meeting, they can schedule that meeting.
We
And they don't, and it's not required that, those other parties be in attendance as long as you all agree and schedule that meeting.
So let it be
As long as you
known,
have a forum.
we did try to have that meeting, so we didn't just skip a meeting, but, just to skip.
That's part of your right as a board member to be able to gather, if you can, to call a meeting amongst, and get a forum to have an official meeting.
All right.
If the city or parish school board fails to hold a public meeting at least once during a calendar month, registered voters of the district may petition the board to hold a public meeting within 5 calendar days of receipt of such a petition by the president of the board, if he or she is unavailable, or by any other board member containing the names of at least 100 registered voters. The board shall hold a public meeting. Members of the board that fail to meet as required for this paragraph shall not be entitled to compensation for that month. And that's
We used to meet twice a month. I've been on this board for a long time. We used to meet twice a month, and that's what we need to keep doing, or we're gonna be here till midnight with all this stuff.
Madam President, is there a motion?
Yeah, it's a motion on the floor.
The motion is for I.
No, you're on H. Consider motion to ratify the deferred compensation plan effective employees.
I move that we consider a motion to ratify and adopt the differentiated compensation plan and pay affected employees.
It has been moved by Howard, second by Fountain. Item H. Item I. Consider a motion to ratify payment sales tax collection received through July 21st, 26 to employees on July 6, 2026.
That's a 13 check,
Well, it was an
whatever
extra,
you call
it was an extra check this year because there were additional funds to distribute to employees.
it. So move.
Need a second. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the board? There's a motion on the table.
So move.
It's been moved by Fountain and second by Wilson. For item I. Item J, discuss and receive input from board members concerning the appointment of interim
Madam
superintendent.
President, did you take a vote on?
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Item J, discuss and receive input from the board members concerning the appointment of the interim superintendent.
Okay, I have a comment on that. I sent out the email, and I was going to input if there was a time frame that we need to have appointed. Knowing school was gonna be started soon, we know we need one. So, I want to ask the attorney, is there a time frame that we need an input? Knowing that we do need one, the school is starting, but just for the record, is there a time frame?
You should have, you either should have a superintendent or an interim at all times. And so that is my understanding, is that the fiscal administrator is asking you for your input. She is supposed to ask for your input. That's what she's doing here.
Madam President, I noticed Attorney Geis, you said that the fiscal administrator was asking for input on this particular item. One, according to the court order that places this fiscal administrator in place, all items should have, in order for the board to fulfill its duties to its constituents, and I'm referencing RS 39:1352, subsection 4. It says the administrator shall allow those officials and employees to serve their constituents and fulfill their duties by providing advice. I'm confused. And I'm confused because on 2 points. One, it's included on some things and not on others. And that does not satisfy the order that's placed. Second point, show me in the law, somebody, where it says interim superintendent. It does not exist.
Yes, it does.
Show me where it says.
17:54 is the exact citation.
And it says in there, notwithstanding, each parish shall elect a superintendent, not an interim. It does not define interim in the law.
But if you read further, sir, it'll say that if the superintendent resigns, removes, or his contract's not renewed, the board will appoint an interim.
Where are you quoting that one?
Just keep reading. I didn't know that was going to be an issue because it's not on the agenda. But if you keep reading, you'll see it further down in 1754.
Oh, don't worry, I will.
Yes, I know you will.
I think you know me.
I do.
Yeah, that's not quite well. Now, in that regard, and in fact, under the advice of the very same attorney, while we were dealing with the same board and dealing with the matter of an interim, though that person functions in the full capacity, that's why the term interim is dangerous, because that person coming into the superintendency doesn't just function as a part-time superintendent, they take on the full responsibility of that office in its entirety.
John, it said, I have copies of, I have copies of, by the superintendent, and RS statute 1754, for one, said Parish School Board shall elect from among the members of the president and vice president. It comes item B, notwithstanding the provision of RS 42.3. Each city, parish, and all local public school board shall elect a superintendent of schools having qualifications that may be fixed by the State Board of Education. It's right here. It's under RS statute 1754.
It says, the board by majority vote of its membership may select a person to serve as interim superintendent in the event of the death, resignation, or termination of the superintendent, or the superintendent being placed on administrative leave. That's section B4. The interim superintendent shall have the same authority as the superintendent. The election of the superintendent is not subject to those laws applicable to the process for the selection of the superintendent or the requirement of the contract. So, that's it. Folks, look, whether we like it or not, you're under a fiscal administrator appointed by the court. She has the authority to run this district, whether you like it or not, or whether the public likes it or not. And she comes and we have these discussions, which are good discussions, but that is giving her feedback. That is giving the public some input and voice in its administration, as Mr. Sims correctly pointed out in that being her role. So that is the situation. That's where we are.
But it also provides for redress in the law as well. There are, in that very same law, it says that if that same fiscal administrator has any issues, that she has available to her the ability to write what's called a writ of mandamus or a motion of injunction. I implore this board to also understand that you have rights just as well. If you have issues, you have to take these issues back to the court, which appointed this particular individual into this position. And you have that authority to do so. Please take in mind, with all due respect, I respect John highly. We've worked together for years. John's opinion is an opinion. Everybody's got one, you know what I'm saying? Okay, and with that being said, if the board has questions in regards to the clear administration or making sure that this is done in a fair and a comprehensive way that's going to be beneficial, if there's a question, this board should also petition that very same court to review those actions that are coming before it. That's your right. You have that right to file those same injunctions or to pursue or to stop these actions because according to the law, John spoke. I don't know who advised you guys when y'all took this on, but it was serious. You gave up a lot. And it's extremely serious because now those things are coming to forefront where we're seeing these as a community, the actions that are taking place. So I implore you guys to take a look at that. Yes,
Me and Hargrave, they was at our meeting, Leeson, Collins, and Kathleen. They was at meeting. We were confident at that time. Ms. Hargrave, I think y'all was the late child, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Hargrave, Hansfield, and Ms. Crawford. Now, what gets me with the community, sometimes I don't believe y'all want to know the truth. If you go listen to that video, and I know y'all to listen to it, that was in Baton Rouge, myself, Ms. Crawford, and Ms. Hargrave. They told us, and they asked the superintendent, and he admitted that he's given up his power of management. Listen to the tape. They told the superintendent, you still over day-to-day operations. When she brings the finance to us, that's when her power comes from what they said on the video. The video don't lie. Go listen to it. But the power, that's why I made a motion that we give a superintendent. Superintendent makes decision on when y'all was out here saying this, the board cannot hire an administrator, a board cannot hire a principal, a board cannot put a principal in a school. Only somebody can do that is the superintendent. And we can't stop it. The state law gave that in 2012. So when you sit there and want to believe what all these people say, you won't go listen to the tape to know the truth. You sit up here and judgment of the board saying they can't do this, we can't do this. We can't touch the finance. Go look at the video. But a superintendent, that's why I made a decision to hire a superintendent, because the superintendent makes a decision on where they want to put. If that superintendent want to put a principal at the school, we can't do nothing about it. But all y'all, some of y'all are talking about polling. We don't have that authority. The superintendent makes them decisions. Whoever the superintendent got the power to bring their staff in. The reason why they did that, because they said the board was controlling the superintendent, so the superintendent couldn't put years ago, if the superintendent brought you up here, and the board, we got to get roll call vote. Vote no, he couldn't get who he wanted. So the law took it away from us. So when y'all go saying, well, that person dirty, whoever the superintendent has the power to move you. And the board can't do nothing about it. Well, we got this. If you not, when my wife was teaching, it's lifetime. She don't have to go back and get a tax every 3 years. She got grandfather clause in. If you don't go through your stuff in 3 years and your tag up and they come and move you, you can't fault the board or the principal. You didn't take care of your position. That's what the law says. We didn't do it. So when y'all come and say, finance, we did it because we couldn't do it. But we couldn't have gave it up unless the superintendent said, I give up that power of finance. But he did not give up day-to-day operation. That's his decision. Or whoever's decision. So we want you to get that sense. So if you want to go look at the video, still going by hearsay and street. So don't come to me saying, well, I'm asking you to listen to the video where the finance was turned over. But the operation, day-to-day operation come from the superintendent, not this board. We can ask questions. We can disagree. And there's some things Lord knows I do disagree. But that's it. John got opinion, and I got opinion. Everybody got opinion.
Any more discussion from the board?
Only other point is that what John pointed out in reference to the interim superintendent, in that same section, 4A, what you spoke about, the board may by majority vote of its membership elect the person to serve as interim superintendent. So that is within the purview of the board to have to make that determination as in, according to the way the law reads, in the event of, and that's what we have, so the board by majority vote of its membership.
Okay. There's an old show, Star Trek, boldly going where no man has gone before. Right. It's Star Trek, it's on TV, it says boldly going where no man's gone before. This board is boldly going where no other school district has been before, and that's under a fiscal administrator. As Mr. Sims has said, there's several statutes that says the board shall do this, the board shall do that, and the board shall do this. In the Attorney General's opinion, it was issued 2 weeks ago, it said that this new law for fiscal administrators primes all the older laws. And in this new law for fiscal administrators, let me read it. It says the fiscal administrator shall have the authority to review and approve all contracts for goods and services, to appoint, remove, supervise, and control all personnel. So it gets back to what Reverend Fountain was saying. Act 1 basically gave that to the superintendent. The board's never had that role since 2012. This new fiscal administrator law, according to the Attorney General opinion that was issued 2 weeks ago, is the newer law, and the latest law controls the older law. And it gives the authority over all personnel decisions to your fiscal administrator. So that's where we are. I have an opinion. I can read the Attorney General's opinion. I can read this law, and that's what I've told you. Is that what Judge Brisker or any other judge is going to agree with? I don't know. The best we can do is rely on the Attorney General's opinion and the clear wording of the statute, which says that your fiscal administrator controls these type of decisions. So if you disagree with me, it does not offend me at all, because I'm married and my wife disagrees with me all the time, okay? I give you my opinion, and that's all I've done. So I'm hoping this will short circuit many of the other questions that will come before you on the agenda tonight.
Is there any more discussion from the public?
Good evening, you guys. I'm really going to my own side of listening and talking to people in the community. You all need to know that we are utterly disgusted at what's going on in this issue.
You need to come up here, we can't hear you.
Madison Parish School District so they can compete globally. And the things that we are seeing and the things that we are hearing, it's hurting our community. If she has all the rights, why do we need a board or a superintendent? If she's going to make all the decisions. We are in a bad state. And you all are going to lose more students. I live in Madison Parish, but my children are on one of those big buses that go to the LI Park. For this reason, we have to come together as a community. When we went out that fiscal administration, let's be real. Let's call it spade a spade. You all know Dr. Butler wasn't allowed to make decisions for who was hired and fired. You all know that. He sat in meetings and most of the time he was quiet. Because you all had already made a decision in your separate meetings. And it's sad. You all represent us. And it's sad that the community feels this way about what has transpired. How can we compete with other people? How? We are so divided, and our house is disgusting. We have no power. And you know, I make the joke because I work in Warren County, but I make a joke all the time. I say, we can't go be nowhere because we don't have 72, and we don't even have 72 parishes because you're taking us down. Some of your best teachers are gone. People from home are gone. Do you know how it makes us feel and how it makes us look? It's sad. It's sad. And we all have to come together. You have to come together. Dr. Butler didn't stand a chance. He didn't stand a chance after that last year. He did not. And I hope he's doing well, whatever he is, but we have to come together. If an interim superintendent will not make decisions, where y'all get the money from, first of all? Because you're not going to have the students that you think you have. Because people in the community are upset. And something has to change. And I hope you all have a renewing of your mind regarding the situation. And then you have people in place that don't even have certifications. How do you address it? Is that fair? You remove people, then put somebody in that same position and you don't pay. Where you gonna get the money from? It is really disheartening to see what has transpired in this community, this school.
Hey, John, when I was, I think Tim Green is here, and I think it was told to the board. When I was president, the state called the interim superintendent to let the board know that, and let the board know that if we didn't get an auditor fund, if they didn't know about it, and you know, if we didn't get one in a week, that was way back a year ago, they were going to shut the district down because we was financial broke. The board did not financially break us. We was financial broke. The auditor, Tim Green, came in because it was told to us that the board couldn't appoint nobody. We didn't put nobody in the district. We didn't put anybody. We didn't make the school for 9 years to be else because we weren't on the board. So when it comes to say that the board did something wrong, the board was always taught I never addressed the educational part because I let them handle that was in position. But I tried to address the money thing. People say I was causing a problem. If we'd addressed the money thing, nobody would be gone. Ms. Tennyson wouldn't be here. So I'm not going to let no blame be put on me that the reason why they was leaving way before then when the charter school came in Tallulah. You took 350 and went there. Then you took in. Then you come back and say that the board can't, it's people that I didn't want to should be hired. But the superintendent had the power to hire who he wanted to hire. All superintendents, John just said that, all superintendents put their own people in place. But the reason why, because it was told to us that Alvin Green wasn't turning the time, wasn't turning their stuff in on time. And they brought it to the board, and the board didn't know no better. Dismissed Alvin Green and got this other orders in. Sat right there and say, reimburse, y'all know the truth. Y'all know the truth, and God know you know the truth. And told that man right in front of you all that $3 million was not filed for a reimbursement. And we couldn't find it. So I'm never going to let anybody, I'm glad I pastor so I can tell the church the truth. I'm never going to let nobody put the blame on me as a board that we caused this district. I was not on this board for the district until 9 years. I wasn't on here 6 years. So that means it was failing almost 3 or 4 years before we even came. A long time. But we did not break this district. Y'all heard me tell y'all money was spent all kind of ways. But you sat there as long as you were getting a paycheck. You wasn't worried about nothing else. But then when it come back, I'm not going to never let anybody throw a blame on me. Y'all did enough for the last 2.5 years. And I was trying to tell you the money was not there. When these people came, they found documentation of stuff was not filed. And I'm glad the world hear me. So when you get up here talking we didn't do this, you wrong. Y'all wrong for doing that to us. We tried. We tried to tell everybody what was going on. It's things that I agree. If a person tell the super, tell anybody that the money is okay, and that person tells that person, all we can do is accept what that business manager say, and sit there and say, hey, look, we asked it. I asked for it for 2.5, 3 years. I was on all Facebook talking about it. My family went through enough, but I promise you, I'm not going through it no more. Because all I did was ask questions. That guy still right there and told us $3 million was all we had to do is ask for it. But we couldn't show documentation. And I feel that y'all wrong to do us like this.
What I want to say to the lady, Mr. Lady, I want to let you know that my heart hurts as well.
Absolutely.
My heart is very sad that we have lost so many people from Madison Parish. You know, I'm so hurt over that. I don't want anyone to think that hadn't been no call made. But as you hear, Ms. Debbie make the final decision, right? But that doesn't mean that we're not sad, we're not hurt. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not saying this for no attention. I even have shared tears in some of the ones that was let go. And to see that we have so many from Madison Parish that's without a job, good work, we did it one right out there in the audience. For whatever reason, I'm just saying what I see. Good workers, good people. Only thing I hate and what I don't like what I'm confused about is why so many of Madison Parish.
Why had to be our people?
Our people that lives here, pay taxes, and we board members, I'm speaking Catholic. I have to look at their faces. I look at their faces. They feel we have let them down. I have let them down. So my thing is, why is it not being done equally and right? Why is there so many in Madison Parish? You're not being done. And as she said, I don't know, but this might hurt us.
They're gonna kill us.
In our county.
Money is business.
And don't think of saying this gladly. Because I love my district. I love my district.
They don't speak to me.
But this might hurt us.
We mismanage money. You left it.
Well, mismanagement is not, it's the way you have to do things. I'm talking about so many right here in Madison Parish.
People that you represent.
Yeah.
Exactly. Who I represent, we represent. And they always want, we live here with these people. I live at a grocery store. Hey, look at it.
Part of that could have been addressed if you all were allowed to be at the table, as the law says that you should be, to provide for your constituents. And that portion, that's why I question sincerely why we haven't taken this issue back to Judge Brisker, where it should be, because clearly this is not being done in the best interest of Madison Parish. And I would forewarn all, she's got to be reelected too. Everybody's up for it now. And these things are important because you're dealing with the lifeblood of this community, the children.
These people that are laid off gotta take the little money that they have to pay the salaries of the ones that got their job. That's not from here.
So it's that. When it came down to the real, how did y'all go by, picking those who need to be rich, especially from Madison? Because nobody from this system was rich. No one. So how y'all go by making rich? Yeah.
why does it appear as though a disproportionate amount of Madison people were reduced in the RIF? The law, which is the reduction in force law, says that location, years of experience, none of that can be considered. You have to look at the principal's evaluation of these teachers. And the lowest evaluation recipients are the first ones to be reduced. And it doesn't matter where you're from, how long you've been, it's all based on the principal's evaluation. And that's what the law requires.
I totally disagree.
And what was followed.
No, and let me explain.
Madam President, the item that we're addressing, we're supposed to be addressing now.
I think it is totally disrespectful to this community to have to be shut down and have to shut up just because we are talking on these lines that are important and critical to this community. I think, and again, I have the highest respect for Mr. Geis, but I think it's totally disrespectful at this point, and this junction, to refer and just say, hey, y'all shut up, we're going to talk about what's on the issue.
No, what I'm saying is,
We won't forget, that's all
for
I'm forgetting.
someone to stand
The
up.
RIF policy, and we're cherry picking how we're applying the law and these policies. RIF was not done according to the current matter. The way it's structured, the RIF policy was not even considered in a lot of cases when it came down to the reduction in force of the personnel in the teachers. Not at all. In fact, some people were already set up because they didn't agree with some people and didn't say this, that, or didn't follow and do the right thing they were supposed to do. They were put on this wish list. If we're going to all be truthful, let's tell the truth.
Madam President, since John wants to stay on the agenda item, my question for that particular item is, what is the future of an interim superintendent? Would you need an interim superintendent if the fiscal administrator is the person that's running the district?
Would you like me to answer that question?
Yeah, that's fine.
My answer is the interim superintendent will be the instructional leader of the district, will go out into the schools, ever who that person is. And there are many, many roles of the superintendent that do not involve the finances. So the actual educational programs and all would be run by the superintendent. That's the answer.
Okay, so the board would actually bring somebody's name to the fiscal administrator, and the fiscal administrator selects the interim?
That's what's on the agenda to receive input, for the fiscal administrator to receive input.
But would the final decision be made by the fiscal administrator or by
That
the
is
board?
my reading of the law, is that the superintendent, the interim superintendent, final decision approving that contract is made by the fiscal administrator.
Because the fiscal administrator's position is in place until the district becomes financially solvent, correct? That's what the law says. Unless she resigns, or unless the district becomes financially solvent, is that correct?
That's correct.
So the interim superintendent would still be acting contractually from year to year under the direct supervision of the fiscal administrator? That's the question.
Unless the fiscal administrator employs or the board votes and she approves the contract of the superintendent.
But even if they voted somebody and she does not want that person, she financial, according to what the law says, she has the last say.
She has the last say, that is correct.
So what they would decide on is moot, really? If she does not want the person that they decide on and bring it to her.
The law says she gets there.
I understand that, that's what I just said.
And I can't answer it 5 more times.
Okay.
That's clear.
Okay, I just want some clarification on it because I'm quite sure that the public is wanting to know. I know I do because I'm a taxpayer in this district and I would like to know. I mean, you know, I am available. I'm a retired educator over 30 years. I'm a certified superintendent. I have a lifetime certificate. okay? And I would be willing to work with this district at no cost, because just like what David said, it breaks my heart. The school district was one of the largest entities in this city, and the city is dying. But I understand the emergency, the financial situation, what happened, and we got here, we're here. But it's sad, and everybody's saying the same thing, but I don't know. Thank you.
We had a fiscal administrator, the state has appointed.
I understand that.
Because of our situation.
I just said that.
Financially and educationally.
I said that. I did. I know we're a failing school district as well. So we got here not just by one or two people. We got here as a district, financially and
And the state
educationally.
hasn't done this. I mean, that's different,
Ma'am,
I said the state is the one who's done this.
well, the state declared it financially insolvent because of the financial. We were already failing grade-wise. We are F as a school
Oh,
district.
exactly. And now we're F in finances too.
Exactly.
While we're discussing about the income, we don't have anything as far as contract, or someone come to me right now and say, hey, put me up for your income, I can't tell them anything.
In order to serve, you would ask, are you certified to serve as superintendent? If so, you contact the fiscal administrator. They gotta be certified to be
I'm saying
superintendent.
as far as a temporary contract or something that they can look at. They talking to them and asking them, it's just wording. I wouldn't go into nothing without visually reading and seeing my views, because I can say one thing and change the next day.
The interim superintendent has the same duties as the regular superintendent.
But do we have something that say interim superintendent with those duties on? That's my
You've got a job description for superintendent, and that job description is filled by the interim superintendent.
When it's gonna say superintendent,
But when you read that
You're saying
statute,
it's the same duties,
yes,
but it's not the same job. Because they're just temporary until we get the superintendent.
so the interim superintendent should have the same authority as the superintendent. So what boards around the state do, they give him or her, the interim, the superintendent's job description and expect them to follow out that job description, since the law says it's the same duties, same authority.
Your question, and I know it's been said, that, that we got, that the bottom line is left up to you for, intern superintendent. Do you have anyone in mind, or what step you're doing to pick it? Because it's left up to you.
Yes, you already have. John, do I address that?
You can address that. You wish. You can if you wish.
At this point, wanted to get some comments from y'all. I've honestly not heard a phone call from any board member. I've had no discussion with any board member, just what's happening tonight. I would have welcomed that, anytime we can have a conversation. The only thing that I know at this point is Miss Lucille Lovett has been very involved with Dr. Butler, with what's going on. She works very hard. She does a good job. I work with her at length, discussing and looking at what we can do. I think when y'all see the numbers that we're going to present to you tonight, you'll have a much bigger, better understanding of where we are, what's happened, and where we still have to go. Look, none of this is easy for anybody, but an interim superintendent is exactly that. They're interim. There's no one here in this system that's ready to walk in that will not impact the momentum that we have going forward to try to get your financials together. Now, you know, I haven't heard any other names, nobody said anything else to me about anything. I do know that she has been very involved in getting us where we've gotten so far, along with Dr. Butler. Again, like John mentioned, I'm working in the numbers. I gave them numbers. I don't know where anybody lives. I'm not aware of who's from here, who's from somewhere else. That's honestly irrelevant to me. I'm not evaluating that. I'm trying to get to the numbers that's going to help this system get back on their feet. I have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with where you are. I'm
You're
just
gonna have
trying
something
to
to do with
help
when
you.
these students don't
I'm
show up
just
here to school.
trying to help you get where you need to be. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time. And reference was made to me working 3 days a week. Maybe this summer, in July and August, I've been coming about 3 days a week. Up until then, mostly I was coming forward. But I promise you, I am working whether I'm here or not, very much of my time. Much of my time. At 3:30 in the morning when I wake up and I'm trying to figure out what's the best thing to do for y'all to get you back on your feet. Because I'm telling you, you got troubles, big troubles, and it's a long way to get out of them. Now, I welcome anything specific that y'all could tell me that we could discuss, but at this point, I don't have anything else from y'all, except, you know, some distaste or dislike for some of the decisions that I've made, but, you know, I'm just left with making the best decision that I think that I can at the time with what I'm working with. Again, y'all are welcome to call me anytime and talk to me anytime about anything. I have never had a closed door policy as far as board members, or, you know, I go a few times early on, I do get a few phone calls, but I've not had any problems. So, you know, again, I can't manufacture conversations between us. I can't, read minds. So, but again, the interim superintendent would be exactly that, an interim superintendent. It would give us someone to talk back and forth to the State Department of Education. It would be somebody that knows what they're doing in education, that understands education. I do not. I'm relying, like I said, I told Dr. Butler in Slovic Road, these are the numbers I'm trying to get to help me get there. They make a decision based on who was best to serve here. Or, again, the evaluations. You have to look at the evaluations when it's a review. I had to look at positions. So, you know, it's been a very, very tedious process. It has taken a ton of time. And all I can tell you is, you know, this school system business is not new to me. I've been doing it for 26 years before I came here. I've been balancing budgets for a long time. And you've got a big situation here. And that's what we're trying to do. I've heard Madison Parish, I'm trying to help Madison Parish. That's what this is all about, you know. And, you know, if I talk with you, Miss Kathy, you might say, no, we want to keep her. But then when I talk to Jeff, he might say, oh, no, that's not the one I want to say. I want to say this other one. So I'm not looking at that at all. I'm looking at dollars and what makes the best sense of other people that's looking at the education side.
I have a question.
Possibly you can look at maybe,
Advertising.
I know you said you're not here, you're not looking at the address and all that. Is it any way possible that you can look at the address moving forward? Because again, majority of the ones that you have been really is from Tallulah. Here's from right here.
Well, now,
And I know you say evaluation and all that, I'm just asking, you know, questions.
I don't think probably I could legally look at that and make any decision based on that. However, I feel sure, I've not looked at the exact numbers, but I feel sure that probably I would guess 75% of our staff is from here. So it's hard to make. Well, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know, because I don't know where people are from. Again, that's not what I'm looking at.
Hey, John, I was looking at that you said new law, and the new law will be in effect August 1st, 2026, right? That will give from what you read, correct me if I'm wrong or not, it's August the 1st, 2026, that the Attorney General say that's going to be the new law that the fiscal administrator will have that authority. So the law right now is still in the board's hands, right?
That's the law I just read.
Is it effect now?
Yes.
I have a question too. Since superintendent resigned, have the state contacted Madison to just see if we have a interim in place, and have anyone named that's already sent in? No, I'm asking her.
I have not notified the state about anybody
They
else.
haven't notified the district asking.
No, actually, I got emails from the state today that was still addressed to Dr. Butler.
So there's no one that has been named as interim superintendent that's sent into state.
Whenever we do a contract and the individual signs the contract and I sign the contract, that is when the State Department will be officially notified and said that we have an interim superintendent and this is who it is, not before. Now, we've had some questions come up that somebody had to answer, and I have gotten different people to help me with questions, but there has been no one submitted to the state as the official superintendent or interim superintendent, because we don't even have a contract at this point.
And the reason I asked you that was because you said that you already had this level in mind, so that's why I asked.
I do have her in mind. She has not signed a contract, and I have not signed a contract with her.
You asked for our input. Well, my input is that you should advertise for it in terms.
Well, the problem is, we really don't have time to do all that.
From the time that, Butler was gone, up to now, Dr. Butler was gone to now, it's more than enough time.
Right. We just don't have time to do that to get an interim in place. Now, once we get an interim in place, then, we could look at doing something different. But, I mean, we really need an interim in place because decisions have to be made. Things have to go forward.
Okay, start advertising tomorrow or the day after.
Well, that's just not a super easy process. You have to advertise for someone to come, there's requirements on that. It is not just go put an ad in the paper and next week whoever shows up, we interview and that's it. But, honestly, we've got some momentum going, we need to keep that going so we can refocus. School's fixing to start. Do we need to be distracted doing that when we're trying to get school started? I don't think so.
We don't have no, it's not gonna be no.
My thing is, if the superintendent resigns June the first, we on the way. Almost a month, and it's just now coming on there for input about an interim, and school is starting like pretty soon. And we knew this was very important. Why we waiting so close?
Well, again, we didn't make our last meeting, so, I can't answer that question.
But then like we never had special meetings when we need to make decisions like.
Well, I don't know if the dates didn't come together for people, I don't know. I know I saw an email that you sent out, but only there were 2 responses. That's all I saw.
Debbie, when you said that, like, a contract, and with the interim superintendent, it says in the law no more than 6 months. But that's the reason I put it on the agenda for us to, look and advertise for a superintendent. Because John helped me with it, she's gonna have that kind of physical power. When you get ready to do the contract, the board don't want to approve the money, that's our power. Or that intern that you come, you got to bring it to us to approve the contract. We may not want to approve that figure, and that's an answer the person, whoever it be, even if we come down to the superintendent. We got to vote on, we turn it to you and you pick, let me finish. And we get it because I want to get it straight. But just said the money. The board is responsible for going the salary of the money. That superintendent come in here, you say $100,000, the board make a motion, we're gonna pay them $60,000. That's the board power there. It's still to do the contract and sign it. That's the board power to say how much money we're gonna give. You can't, I'm ready, you can't take that away. And the courts have taken that from us because we went there, but it's always another way. I feel like this here, and I don't know how the board feels. If this board goes out and we research, I have had people call me. I'm from the out of state. Not in this city, not in one, they're interested in it. That's why I said that we need to advertise, because if they are put it out, stand and look for a superintendent, whoever you put interim superintendent don't have only 2 weeks left to do this. But we say we mandate, the board got to have some type of authority. We mandate that we would like to have a superintendent in after Labor Day. That means school starting August and 2 weeks in August or whatever, and a week there. That means that that superintendent, we hire him in 40 years, we can have him in here. But when it comes down to the contract, it's not good, and the board still have that control. That, John, you have to win it because if you pick somebody that the board don't want, and I think that we should listen to it if they say that, hey, we need to get this interest, or we need to do this, y'all tell me. I just want to know because we got to get an interest. We need a business manager, and we need, because all y'all, I said earlier, all that work on you all, and John, it was told to me that when I was president, y'all helped me and correct me, and I go back and put it, tape. Me and Doc, we talked about the interim superintendent and the business manager. I mean, the business manager. And it was told to me as president that if we get that person, I will not call the name, we're going to train that person. And the person will be close to you, Ms. Debbie, and close to everyone that was doing the money thing, that person will be trained. Person had the yield, and until we got them trained, it will be brought back to the board to see if we want them as business manager. I don't know how that person got terminated.
But she didn't have a contract. She didn't have a contract.
If you go back and look at the minutes, the board made a motion to vote to bring in a business manager. Business manager could not get there without the board voting on it. I don't know how or what happened or whatever. What I'm saying is that if we may have to go into executive session and talk and have another meeting and talk. I would. All I do is give you my opinion and talk with this board and check to see if the board happy with the decision you make or I make, and let it come to a majority, and the board, it'll be better on you, it'll be better on this board. If we do that, we shouldn't. I wouldn't want to say I got the authority to do this and all by myself, and you got different minds and you may not want who you want. I went for years, didn't get what I want. I accepted it, took it like a man. What I'm saying, my opinion, if that's who you want, I would call a meeting, a special meeting, executive session, and speak with every last one of these board members, and let these board members tell you how they feel. I would do that to make it better than what it is, instead of saying, I got the power. I don't want that kind of power. I'm gonna let you come if I go on a pastor of church. I have to go to the majority of the members and say, hey, we make a motion and second. And the majority wins. Sometimes I don't get what I want. But when people come, that makes me sound like a bully in school, say this is what I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it with God. Listen to the board opinion, and then if you make a decision and you hear the majority of the board say, we don't want that, you make a decision, then that'll be on you. But let's hear from us to see if they happy or what the decision is going to do. We got to live at this time. And listen, I ain't worried about no get back in the office. If I get there, the good Lord put me. If I don't, I don't. I'm still going to live. But I want to do the right thing to make everybody happy. You see when I was talking earlier? What did I do? When it came down to making motion, I made it. I don't take no hard feeling. I can take it. I'm hard. I'm a man. I would take it. But my point is that I would do it. If these boys are asking you questions, that means they may not be happy with the name that surprised them. So I would do an executive session meeting, John, and sit down and talk with my board and say, how y'all feel? And then if they don't feel it, and then the majority of the board say, I don't want that person, and then she still say, this is what I want, well, that'll be on her. Now that's how peace is, that's how, where the law he just said it, that's how peace is supposed to be. Because we need to solve it to try to do something.
John, Attorney Guy said a little while ago that we are boldly going where I would quote goes to Star Trek, and I watched Star Trek. That's it. Where no man's gone before. Because this is a new thing, we are setting a precedent, not just for Madison Parish. You all need to understand that what's happening here is setting a precedent statewide. This is a matter of case law. Therefore, if you have a question or an issue, you have a remedy. It's called file an injunction and take that before the 6th Judicial District Court. And then as a board, you can definitely lay out your concerns with the judge who placed the fiscal administrator. You have the opportunity to, of course, express that and express your major concern. Being that you are Madison Parish, being that you are your constituents are Madison Parish, being that the people you represent are Madison Parish, being that the children are, these are the same people that she has to function under, and the same tax pay her just as well as it pays you and the school teachers just as well. You have that ability to do something. So the thing is, I understand, yes, I agree. If you can sit at the table and do it amongst each other, because that's what the law actually speaks to now. It says that you all are supposed to come to a table, you all are supposed to communicate with each other, and you all should basically be able to lay it out and work it out. And it does have that clause in there at the end. If we don't agree, then it falls back up on the shoulders of the fiscal administrator. But if there's an issue with that, you take that back to the district court, 6th Judicial District Court, where it was filed, and you have these facts brought out. There should be a review whether or not those things that are being done are progressing, if they're being effective, if they're moving the numbers. But I will say it again. Madison Parish School District cannot afford to lose one child. Not one. Not one. And I know that there are several Sims that are ready to go down. And I don't think that we can afford to lose a head. Not one. And those are the things that need to be taken. Please take those things into consideration. Because if you make the decision that is looked at the way it's being looked, you're subject on day one not to have nobody at your school. You think you got a problem now.
Well, the reason there, I said it like that because that's what the court told us.
Yes, sir.
When we was in Baton Rouge.
Yes, sir. And
the scripture says, please try to do with peace before you go to the limit that you say. Correct. So that's why I was saying that I would, if I was her, I would come at the table and meet with my mother.
But don't just come to the table on the interim superintendent. She should have came to the table on all these things and then they would decide.
That's why, Darryl, I'm not, people, you're looking at the interim superintendent, I'm looking at the superintendent.
Correct.
And that's why it was on the agenda to go ahead and advertise to get a superintendent in. What I'm saying to the fiscal administrator and to all of you all, if this board is asking questions, that means they're not happy with the charge. So still of us sitting there going through all that, I will meet with my board and hear my board opinion. And then once my board tells me, and you decide not to go with it, then you'll be out there on the floor on your own saying, I made the decision. That's what I would like to see, and I think we should have a meeting to do that, and then move on to our superintendent if the board agrees. We got time to set a meeting for Monday or whatever day that she's available, and meet with us. And then already advertise it for the superintendent. I would, if I was in that position, it's your choice. But that's just a suggestion I would bring to you.
Let me just kind of throw this out there to y'all too, because it's an important issue. Of course, y'all know the reason I'm here is because of finances. You know, my every waking moment is about finances. It's not about the details of all this. It's trying to get us balanced. When I'm looking at the budget, I'm seeing almost $200,000 in salary and benefits that we've been paying for a superintendent. That's everything. Almost like $190,000 plus. That's salary, that's benefits, okay? Insurance, all that. Currently, for a K-12 supervisor on the salary scale, no names mentioned, it's about $90,000 with salaries and benefits. $77,000 plus benefits, okay? Now, if I make the K-12 supervisor the interim superintendent, I lose the the K-12 supervisor salary out of my budget. Then I put her in the him in the superintendent's position. Well, I mean, you know, I made it clear that's who I'm thinking about. Then if you take what you pay the superintendent and you reduce it and you pay this interim superintendent less, then you have carved out $150,000 to $160,000 out of your budget. Okay. So I'm looking at numbers. I'm not just looking at people. I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at experience. I'm looking at those details. But I'm looking at numbers because that's what I look at, okay? So you can go hire a brand new superintendent, bring them in from somewhere else, and you don't pay him. I would never suggest that you pay the superintendent what you've been paying one. However, you're going to pay that superintendent, and then you still have to pay 12 supervisor, then you're going to pay that salary. So what I'm looking at is saving big dollars by doing what I'm talking about doing. Again, it's interim, it's something we can change down the road. But to move forward, to not lose the momentum from where we are to where we're trying to get and school fixing to start, it seems like a good solution to me. I've analyzed it, I've looked at it from a lot of directions. I'm trying to think of somebody else that I know that's here that's ready for that. And I don't see somebody that's ready for it that's here. So if you're mentioning, I'm talking about in the system. If you're mentioning, so people from other states come in, are we right back in the same boat that we don't have?
No, I say they were interested in it. They heard about it. And we got some retired people that have retired from the system that may be interested in superintendent.
Okay. And again, I've not heard any names from anybody.
I know, I'm just, this is the first time we just discussed, you know, and
What happened in June?
I'm real easy to find.
Now,
I'm here most of the time.
3 days a week.
Well, sometimes I'm here 4 days. I have been here 5.
So, can we, set a date, to meet? I mean, not just one-on-one, I mean, all of us, talk about this.
I don't know if we can have an executive
Under
session
the
and do
open
that.
meeting law, you gotta have an agenda and all that, for anything.
Let the community meet, let the parents, make the community, let the parents come before us, they won't have children in the district, we just ain't going. Let them hear the community voice. Their children that's coming into this district, you know, give their opinion about who the interim or, you know, let them come, let you hear them.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand who you
I was
said.
saying make it a meeting, but make it like a community, so the community can come and voice their opinion. You know, they have their children, it's the children that belong to the parents that's here. You need to get
Again,
their
no,
opinion
we're just
on
talking
the
about
interim.
interim, we're not talking about our the superintendent. Temporary.
Interim man, you're not gonna hire a superintendent. Interim gonna stay.
Because you're gonna move up. That's why I say come and let the community voice their opinion. And then you'll hear about the interim that you want, and what the community has to say and how they feel.
Well, I mean, we're here tonight, I'm listening to y'all.
I ain't say this, I said the community, the parents.
I think it's unfair that the board not have a role in deciding who the superintendent is. You are talking about numbers, but you should also consider the numbers of children that you are going to lose in this district. Because as parents, we have the right to remove our children because this is a failing school district. I think their hearts are in the right place to have a conversation with you as who should be selected as the interim superintendent. But you have stated, both of you, several times, that you have made your decision. So, meeting with you, what does it change? Nothing. You have already made your decision. That is not fair to us as a community. I know each one of those board members, and I know most of their hearts. And I have listened to some of these board members speak. And some of the things that you say is harsh. You just said you didn't know anybody on the profile. How dare you say that?
I did not say that. I did not say
Oh,
that.
yes, you said.
Yes.
Yes, you said.
If I would have
See,
John,
I didn't know of anybody that was ready, that was in the system.
That's the same thing, because you didn't evaluate your full system. And you didn't seek out. You should have contacted the board. When you all removed the superintendent, that would have been my first order of business. You're talking about numbers, but you are still putting people in place based on the numbers you have. Where does this money come from? And then you're removing people, but you're still adding folks. We don't understand. How you balancing the budget? How is this benefiting us?
Not balancing the budget, you balancing people.
Right.
You removing people.
And
And that goes against the RIP policy, because once you remove it, you're not supposed to remove, once you remove positions, and right now you're currently removing people. No, you're putting people who didn't want to put in those positions.
Is there any more discussion on the floor?
I see about 2 or 3 people in here that's qualified to be the superintendent. Now.
they already.
Item J, no further discussion, no further discussion. So now we move to item K. Consider a motion to adopt the revised 2025-2026 budget.
Before we move into the budget, Alan Williamson's here, Tim Green, he's gonna address some issues, some ongoing issues, some situations where we've been and where we are. So Tim, would you come forward?
Chairman, board members.
Hey, hold on one second. Can you point out to the board, before we begin this item, what the revised budget is you're talking about?
I don't have it.
I can. I think he's just gonna address some general issues, but this is the revised general fund budget.
Is that down
It
there?
says general fund revision 6/30/26.
26, that's the last day of the school year. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I was trying to make sure that it was talking about.
Right.
Board members, board chairman, and guests and staff, and other folks that are here. Pleasure to be here to kind of give you a little bit of update as far as the financial situation. As you know, we kind of talked about it, the board, you were not informed, or you were misinformed, I guess, for several years there as far as the financial condition of the school board. We were involved several years ago. As you know, I think management wanted us not to be involved anymore, and we skipped a year and a half or a couple of years and so forth, and then we've been back on track since April, I guess, of last year. So we've been back engaged with the school board now for about 15 months. As you know, we shared with you some things as we went through and looked at the information, what we were seeing, et cetera. And I think you were shocked for that when we brought that to your attention. And several board members, several board meetings, we talked about the finances, et cetera. Probably one of the biggest things that was that you did have a lot of cost reimbursement programs, that you were entitled to reimbursement, and it was just flat out that the requisitions were not turned in the state, and so you lost the opportunity to request that reimbursement and so forth. As you recall, in this meeting where the superintendent talked about how he had carried some personnel for a whole year after the federal dollars had run out, that probably cost the school board a good $1 million or so. We've had situations where, as you know, one particular program, I guess the ARPA money and so forth that you had, that I think the state probably called the school board and said, you haven't spent your money, if you don't spend it by a certain time, you're going to lose it. The idea was brought up to let's do some stipends and so forth. The stipends were paid out. However, you'd already spent the entire money of the grants. They just had requested reimbursement from the state. So the state looked at your grant and said, you got a lot of money left. You spend it on stipends, but you'd already spent that money on supplies and other things. That was $900,000 that it cost the school board because you wound up having to pay it out of the general fund. I was just going to go over 4 or 5 things to talk about. Kind of got off track there for a second, but there's things that have impacted you. As you know, you had $250,000 you spent on starting a building with air conditioners that are sitting here in this room next door to you, that are just sitting there, have been there for a couple of years now and so forth. That was money that had to be paid out of the general fund. But you've made some painful decisions already with these RIFs. As you know, you had one a year ago. You just had another one. Those are very painful, but has helped kind of reduce the bleeding as far as the school board. Your finances are still in really terrible shape at this point. A lot of improvements have been made, but there's still a long ways to go. I'll kind of share how that works. As you know, you got the audit report from the auditor for the 23-24 fiscal year. Remember, you got that several months ago, and in that report, you had a $4 million loss for the year. Your expenditures out of the general fund were $4 million more than your revenues. At that time, at the start of that year, you had a $4.4 million fund balance. So when you ended that year after a $4 million loss for the year, you went up with a $300,000 or $400,000 fund balance. We just got information from the auditor for the 24-25 school year. This is a year ago now that they're still in the process of auditing that. But my understanding is that they will be complete with that this month. So waiting and anticipating that report. The verbal report they gave us was that for this 24-25 fiscal year, that there's going to be a $2 million loss for the year. So in fact, for the 23-24 year, you lost $4 million. For the 24-25 year, you lost $2 million. So we're sitting with a $6 million loss, or an average of $3 million per year. And I think this is where really the board was in the dark from the previous management as far as not filing requisitions, getting money for you, et cetera. That was a big part of these losses that you're incurring. But anyway, you got about a $6 million loss. For the year that just ended, as you recall, we're thinking at this point that there's going to be about $1 million loss for this year that just ended. Now, you have to take into consideration, according to government generally accepted accounting principles established by the national standards setter, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, is that a general fund and a governmental fund is operated on basically a cash basis. So that $1 million in profit that we're going to make for this year, you got to take into consideration that we pour down a revenue anticipation note. That loan that you took out is $2.5 million. If you're on a cash basis, that's in revenues or receipts coming in, and that in effect sort of helped kind of sort of shout us the real true economic situation that you have this year. And you take and sort of back that $2.5 million loan out, because you got to repay it, right? It's not free. You got the loan, you draw up your bank balances, you were able to pay your bills and so forth, and you had an excess of $1.1 million. But in my mind, that $2.5 million loan is, we got to pay it back. So you really need to pull that out to get the true sense of what you're looking at as far as the operations. And so I think you're going to wind up, in my mind, economically, you're going to wind up with a loss for this year. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. There's things I know that you'd like to do and you'd like to make all the decisions. It's just that I think with the finances, the way it got into this whole thing, and appointing a fiscal administrator has got to make some really tough decisions, and really, really tough decisions in this particular case, just because of the situation that you're in and the loss that you incurred. And so Debbie had mentioned kind of what she was thinking about as far as the administrator, or as far as the superintendent, kind of a little bit surprised at such a pushback on that, and that this board elected her as interim superintendent at one time. So I thought that would go a little bit smoother, but apparently it does not. So, anyway, as she mentioned, she was talking about $150,000 savings as far as cost for her picking up that new role and adding some additional responsibilities. $150,000 savings, you need it. I'm not telling you how you want to vote or whatever, but anything you can do to save costs, I think you've got to do that. You're still in really bad shape. You're making a lot of improvements. These risks are not easy. I understand that. I think if you were the fiscal administrator and you had to cut costs, your school board expenses, 80% of it is going to be salaries and benefits. So you got about, I think you're kind of projecting for this next year about $10 million in expenses for the general fund. You could probably say, a quick analysis I did, I think about $8.4 million of that is salaries and benefits. About $1.6 million is your other expenses. So if you need to cut $300,000 or $400,000, took all the expenses that are non-payroll related, it's only $1.6 million. If you got to cut $300,000 or $400,000 out of that, that's 30 or 40% that you got to cut out of that one category, and you just can't physically do it. So again, the lion's share of your expenses with the school board is your payroll and benefits. And so if you're going to make any cuts, you got to really do it. It's going to impact personnel in the best case scenario. I wish there was an easy solution to this. I wish it could be easy and everybody be happy about it, et cetera. But I think you're just in a really tough situation that is painful. I was described and so forth to you. But, one of the things that I think you've got, I kind of skipped over some of the things, but I think you got a major amount of maintenance that really needs to be done. That's not factored into the budget, and you probably sure spend several $100,000 on that. One of the good things is I think your federal and state cost reimbursement programs that cost you a lot of money, that just as a the director of your federal programs and your business manager just was not filing requisitions and get reimbursement for the costs that you were entitled to. Those costs and reimbursements have been up to snuff and done very timely. And I think when Christie kind of took over and started doing that, there was probably $2 million worth of reimbursement costs that she went back and was able to recoup and to request from the state, et cetera. And we've already at this point, we've been running the last several months, I think probably not more than 2 or 3 weeks in arrears as far as any of those costs have been incurred, that she's really stayed on top of that. So I'm very confident that you haven't lost any money as far as cost reimbursement programs that where you were entitled to be reimbursed for those costs. I think you're getting all of that.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Since you all been here, how much reimbursement have y'all been able to collect back, and how much have we lost on reimbursement that we haven't collected back?
Might get Ms. Christie to respond to that if she could.
For this year, we haven't lost, for 25-26, we haven't lost anything. There was about $2,000 of special ed funds that the general fund had to pick up, but that's it. I mean, all of the reimbursements for 25-26 have been every month.
So how much
all of
have
the
we?
losses were 24, 25, and 23, 24, and even prior. But between those 2 years, it was, you know, 1 year was over $800,000, just that 1 year, and the year before, it was. It was, because it wound up being between 1 and 2 million, just between the 2 years. Then once those dates pass, you can't go back and get it.
And we lost more money than that, and the fact that Christie was quite familiar with those programs, and sometimes she could, program was out of money or whatever, but she could move it to another program because it qualified to be reimbursed under that other program. And she did that, and she had several things she was moving to make sure that you got 100% of any possible reimbursement that you could.
You say instead we lost how much reimbursement went from?
Well, ARPA money was the one where you really spent the money, but you had to file the requisitions with the state. The state looked at it and says that September or December, you're going to run out of time to request reimbursement. You got to spend the money, otherwise you're going to lose it. That's when the management decided to spend it on stipends. They spent it on stipends, but they had already spent the money on supplies and so forth. And so that supply cost had to be moved over and eaten by the general fund.
For 21st century was okay.
All of your grants this year are fine. For 25-26, everything is good.
But we did. We know that 21st century goes out in January coming up, right? Hey, Grant, are we got somebody in place to reapply for it? Okay.
You know, they had that, another cost where you ran out of money on your general fund as far as payroll, and you pulled the money out of the child nutrition program, $875,000. The state agreed to allow us to repay that, or the school board to repay it into the child nutrition program over a 2-year period. And that occurred this year. Half of it was paid back this year. But I mentioned to Debbie that we really probably need to talk to Department of Ed to see if we can get them to spend that for a year. I just think you're going to need that this year that we're in.
So what we have in the CDs?
The CDs, we had just over $600,000 in that. When we came back on board back in April of 2025, half of that has been cashed in and used for operations during this 25-26 year. There's a couple CDs that are left that tally just over $300,000, and you know, kind of with the cash flow in the fall is when cash flow gets really tight for the school board until you get your annual payroll taxes in the spring, in January, February, and so forth. And so now the end of the year is when it will be the tightest as far as the cash flow for the school board. And those CDs may have to be used before the end of the year.
Oh, the big question, Debbie, can you or this person give me the tally on how many children we have? I know we hadn't had preschool to come yet, right?
That's right. Well, we don't know what kindergarten's gonna be.
Okay. Do
Well,
you have?
CBT doesn't cover pre-K.
Right. So what number that we have right now, can y'all give me that for the board, how many we have enrolled that right now? Do you have the number? Well, I can call you.
I have the February 1 count, I don't have the days count. Shaqayla actually read it for me, but I don't have it with me, I don't remember what
Yes.
the total was. But your February 1 count was a total of 1,083 students, but 40 of those were pre-K, and you're not funded for those pre-K students who are in OT. So you had 1,040 that were funded for February 1. And that's what your beginning MOP is based on right now.
We started the year with 161, and then it dropped down to that. I mean, 1,161.
Is there a contingency plan in place in case the October 1 count goes beyond or below the 1,004 that you're already saying that you may be anticipating? Or is there a contingency? What's to happen in the event that we lose more students?
Your expenses are going to be reduced to compensate for that. It's about, each student's about $7,000 some dollars from the state, so every time you lose 10 students, you lose $7,000. So you have to probably consolidate some classes and have some more reductions for staff. But the portion of being repaying that child nutrition for that amount, I think you've done really good that you pay that back. But I just think it's going to be pretty tight this fall, and et cetera. And we don't have the $2.5 million that you received this year in that loan that really helped cover you for the year, and we don't have that scheduled at this point. And so.
So when you say the number, the total may be per child, say 7,500, is that per child just in regular student, or do we get more for special needs students?
Well, I think just kind of doing a quick math on the amount of MFP you received last year, I think it was about $7,300 a student on average that you received. You can just divide the MFP revenue you're receiving by the number of students. But yes, some students may get more and et cetera, but that's overall, that's the average.
Okay.
But, we've got, at this point, we're going to line up the year between when you kind of consider all those losses and so forth. We really need to get the fund balance back up to, back 3 years ago, with over $4 million. But if you can get it up to $3 million, that, get it back in a more comfortable range as far as I'm concerned, and et cetera. And, if we're sitting in a $1 million deficit or a $1.5 million deficit, we got to go from there to a $3 million positive. We've got a long way to go, and really to get it there, you got to have excess of revenues over expenditures, and that's, can't do that overnight, and et cetera. But
just like we got the 21st century grant, that we can't afford to bring somebody in to years ago, while we had so much money in the general fund, when the Dixie was superintendent, because he had a lot of people writing grants. And they wrote the grant, and these people, just like their effort from them, these people moved over in the grant department, and they paid these people out of there. And then in the general fund was broke. So I'm asking, why? Somebody asked me about that they would love to write grants for the district where employees that we have let go with the grants, we could have kept some of these employees. So are we looking at that? To look out for somebody who will write grants, where we wouldn't be losing if the grant goes for 3 years, like what's the college need? Then maybe our population start growing or whatever, but we need to do something. So can we research that?
We certainly will. The big thing about a lot of grants, however, is they come with strings attached that they're for a special purpose. And they don't typically say general fund that much money. Typically. Sometimes you can come up with something that might help, but typically grants have specific guidelines you have to follow. And you can't supplant by taking things that's general fund expenditures and moving them to the grant unless it's specific with a job description and details of what that grant requires.
I had a person, an educator, that came to me and asked me about a lot of our teachers that wasn't certified. And the grant, I think they lost the grant went out. But that person wants to write grant, wants to come to the district and get all the teachers, our young teachers that was not certified, and the grant was going to pay for them to get certified. But they never got on board. The grant deadline was over. So I'm just experiencing how people will come and ask you when you're in the church, they'll tell you, well, how y'all looked at this? Because other districts that have going through what we're going through did write grants to keep some employees, but they won't. They're like 21st century. 21st century got certain people. If our 21st century got 85% of their money, or 80% of their money to pay the director, I don't see how that will affect us as a district if we can't use grant money for nothing else but itself. That's what I looked at it, and I've been studying 21st century since 2015, and I wasn't even on the board. That's when the grant came in. But anybody that was director of that part, in that grant, that person was only the director of 21st century. She had no other job but direct with her people that she had in place. So that's when I don't understand how that position would not be available. And it's grant money, and you can't use and pay nobody else with it unless you put somebody in that place and do that place. That person has to be. That's what's so good about some grants. I used to be against the grant, but then I'm for grants that didn't come in and keep people jobs for that time, because a lot of schools are using grants still to pay some employees. Right. So I just feel that if we can do that, and you can search it for us and let the board know and we're able to find somebody who can do it, I think that'll help us out.
Well, through the COVID happened in 2020, and 3 or 4 years, or 4 or 5 years, we've had this great deal where you've had abundance of money coming in from the federal government and so forth. And a lot of school boards were able to do a lot of things they never even thought they could do before. And it's kind of now we're going through the period of time where we have to retract and that we don't have all that luxury of all that excess money and the extremely high indirect cost rate that they were paying the school boards. That you can make money just off indirect cost rate almost. Anyway, it's just kind of tough time when you're in a tough situation, and I wish it could be better. But we've got a lot of work yet to be done on this for Debbie House and et cetera to get out of the hole we're in. And I wish that the staff had been more front with y'all in those years that got us in the hole that we're in.
I mean, then I walked in the gym, and when y'all mentioned about Mason, and I walked into high school, and I had been there since March, We win state, I stayed away because Dr. Rell, I didn't feel that we achieved our goals. So I had been in that gym since March. But when I walked in the gym, I was very surprised because I saw some gym lights in there. And they had told me about them, so, and they brand new gym lights. And, I mean, they're bright, is that right, Dr. Rell? And they look nice in junior high and high school. So I didn't even know that we had new lights. Did you know we did? That we had new lights in the gym?
I did know, I didn't know up front, but I did know.
It's so beautiful. We don't have to replace them no more. And I compliment whoever did it.
It was a free grant.
It was a free grant.
Foster.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna look at this. This is the general fund revision for June 30th, 2026. We'll be continuing to look at that because certainly we have some accruals that are still out there. In fact, just to let you know right up front, in the last, right before the actual day of the board meeting that we were not able to have the meeting, we received a report from payroll taxes that Green & Williams firm had requested for us. And it went back all the way to 2020. And it identified quarters that had not been paid in or had been partially paid in from payroll taxes. It also identified penalties and interest that the school district owes. We currently have an obligation for $220,000 for payroll taxes that were not paid timely, that the school was going to also have to pay. That we were not aware of. I don't know if that's what you were referring to for the 2022, because a big part of that was from 2022. Again, it goes all the way back to 2020. But there's penalties and interest we may get some help with, but that's probably only about maybe 50,000 of it. And so that's another thing that we've got to deal with that's on top of all other stuff that we're doing.
Was that person considered in the RIF because they didn't pay those taxes and didn't take care of their obligation? Were they considered?
We didn't even know at the time.
You know now.
So I'm not sure I know your question, but let me go on with the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Revenues for the year projected are $9,163,743. That includes your ad valorem tax that goes into general fund. It includes any interest. It includes just some other local sources of revenue. It also includes $7.6 million in MFP, which again is those numbers that was referred to earlier about what we're getting per student. Also, we have some unrestricted grants, some revenue sharing, and then we have some dollars from some federal dollars for a total of $9,163,743. And then the expenditures, regular programs, $3,792,559. That's our largest category. Of course, that includes all regular education. Special education, $565,500. I'm just going to kind of go to some of the larger ones. The 1,400 category, which is other instructional programs, $625,200. Then we go down to general administration, $980,000, school administration, $816,000, business services, $797,000, operational plant and maintenance, $905,000, student transportation, $708,000, central services, $98,000. Food services, this is for the retirees, $77,369. For total expenditures of $10,846,913. This gives us a deficiency of $1,683,170, which is before application of the $2.5 million that we received in the grant. Of course, as Tim pointed out to you, this is a cash entity, and so you technically need to be supporting your expenditures with the revenues you have coming in. We didn't make that mark. While we have improved considerably, we still have not made the mark. Then, of course, we take into account the $2.5 million that we received through the grant, and also some indirect costs, which is $361,000 approximately that we're going to get this year. Now, taking back also to, we were getting COVID indirect costs, and we were getting $1.5 million out of ESSER for those COVID dollars, $1.5 million. And that translates now to $361,000. Then we had to transfer out, which had to do with the RAND where we paid interest. That's all we paid so far with RAND, is we had our first interest payment of $43,179. So that brings us up to an excess of $1,135,608. Of course, we're trying to make up the difference still. We went off the tracks in 23-24. In 24-25, we exacerbated that situation with all the not requesting and all the other details that Mr. Green talked about, that we've talked about numerous times. So when we get there, we get down to the adjusted fund balance of $768,965,000 negative. Then when we adjust it back up to the $875,000 deficit, and then the unreported accruals, we have blocked that. You know, I came to meeting after meeting and said we have other invoices up here that the board owes that has not been paid. They're resurfacing. We continually get these invoices. And that was a total of $453,051, that plus unrequested, for a total, and then that brings us to a total beginning fund balance for this fiscal year, 25-26, that just ended, which are numbers that our audit firm, we expect to confirm very near that category when I come in and bring your audit report, a $2,097,016 deficit, okay? When you calculate all that into the piece of the pie, it brings you back to a negative $961,408. So you can clearly see we have lots of work left to do. The necessity for the RIF that we've already talked about and done, which has been a continual process. And, you know, I can't tell you that we're done. So, but that's where we are right now. We will have some accruals. I am working on the general fund budget for next year. Currently, the MFT budget letter from the State Department of Education has us at $7.712 million for our MFT. That is based on the student count as of February for this past year. Of course, again, we don't know what that student count's going to be. As again, contingency plan. Only contingency plan for a school system is salaries and benefits. That's just all there is to impact.
Do we have a time frame we get out of this?
Well, it just depends on what happens, to be honest. We see we're making great strides here. I mean, I can see that with the RAND money, it's pulled us out. We knew it was a short-term aid, and we knew it was going to have to be paid back. That's why whenever we went to the State Bond Commission back in October of last year, we got a 5-year commitment from the lending institution, which is the projected payout for 5 years. However, if you do that, you have to go back to the Bond Commission every year and have them approve it again. So we'll be going back to the Bond Commission this October to do that. You know, it's not an easy fix overnight. You don't lose $4 million one year and $2 million the next year and think that you're going to come back overnight. It just don't happen. we would have to disassemble things so much to have done it without the rain. It wouldn't have been, if you think it's not pretty now, I'm sure. But it's a lot of work left to be done. And just like Tim said, 150,000 may not sound like a lot, but those numbers add up fast, and we're trying to make every dollar count. And there's just not a lot of options out there. We will be coming back with the budget for next year at the next meeting, but that may take us 2 times, because we may go back and forth a little bit on it, talking about it, discussing where we're going.
Just respond to your question about getting out of the hole, how long it's going to take, et cetera. Always have that question a lot of times with commercial clients, and they have big laws and so forth, and they tell me, well, I do this and do that, and et cetera. I can get out of it in a year and so forth. And I'm like, no, just if all those things could happen, that could be a possibility. But my response always is that, well, kind of depending on how long you got it, took you to get in the hole, probably won't take you that long to get out, if not longer. And so you really, I think you probably took 3 years or so getting in the hole. So if it takes us 3 years to get out of it, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I think this year's been tougher than what we thought, and we were talking about just getting the fund balance. She was showing that we were $1 million in the hole. To get the fund balance back to $3 million positive, which is really probably where you need to be. That's $4 million excess. Well, we're kind of operating at a break-even point, so that you're not going to move that out, but really somehow maybe we got to look at revenues, see if there's any possibility of additional revenues, whether it's state appropriation or what could be, 80, I think 84% of your revenues right now on the financial statement we're looking at, I think 84% of that from the MFP, and I think 12 to 13% from in the general fund as far as ad-valorem taxes or sales taxes, which is ad-valorem taxes, general fund is like 12 or 13%. So between those two, you're pretty limited, and so I don't know. We may have to look at it and see if there's some way that some revenues that can be generated to really help get you out of the hole that you're in.
So, Ms. Hargrave mentioned something. With all this financial debt that we have, the stuff that we got to approve, this board should be pushed to the limit. And I had mentioned it earlier. I think for us to keep in date and then know what's going on, at least for the next 4 or 5 months, that we need to, this once a month meeting is killing us and all these debts that we have. We need to prove. You bring the deadline to it and then tell us, hey, today we got to prove it. So y'all think we should stay at once a month, try to get 2 weeks back to try to get this stuff passed, or we're going to get a shorter length of time that tonight that we got to go prove it because the 25th coming around. And I think we'll operate on prove this stuff quickly, then be on stress like this. As I already mentioned it, I think that'll help us out. Madam President, do we need to look at that and do that? Because if we don't meet this every month. It's up to you all. I agree. I agree with you on that. Yeah. Because I don't want to be pushed, like we said tonight, the 25th, we had to pass it. And city council, police jury, all meet every 2 weeks. We used to do that. And we can keep up with the balance of the budget better. And I think that in this crucial time, and the deficit we in, we should meet right there. And that's fine with the board.
Well, we're finally getting information that makes sense.
Right. But I agree with you when you
5 years ago, we were not getting correct information.
But I just think that the depth that we're in right now, just once a month ain't getting it. And then the journey would be shorter, And we
Most
gonna get
times
this
we
stuff
meet
over.
twice a month for some of the special meetings.
Right. But, I agree with you.
Add it to next month, next agenda, if we want to consider changing it back to twice a month, instead of once a month, which would be better. We put that in your own. You ain't gotta be there.
There's so much coming up, you know.
Yeah, and
But every time y'all tell us,
you got 30 items, 40 items on the agenda at one time, you slow
Right.
down, you won't be here to
right,
do anything.
cause everything y'all just telling us is like you say, $200,000 or what we had to pay back, you said again?
220,000.
Or what?
That's payroll taxes.
With the $6 million that we should have submitted for resolution, was there a penalty in place for the person who did not submit those resolutions? Because Mr. Sims asked this question, and she said, let's go on to the budget. So what's in place for the person who did not do what they were supposed to do in their job descriptions, since we're talking about job descriptions? And when you name Superintendent Luggett, will she also be KP-12 supervisor so you can save money? So she's gonna run the district as superintendent and KP-12? What penalties are in place for people who did not perform? Doing, you know, they should have been ripped as well. And I don't know who it is, but I'm just saying, if you did submit, request $6 million, that's a lot. Nobody's up there like that?
We have to go into executive session to discuss personnel, we can't discuss that, but we made a value question. One gonna get real for one thing, and the other was not, that's the American industry. But we cannot discuss personnel.
We just do that, and
Yeah.
that's just the thing, process.
Yes. So, we gotta consider a motion to revise the 25-26 board budget. It's a motion on the floor.
Can we get a copy of that budget? Certainly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam President, is there a motion?
I guess I just asked for a motion. There's a motion on the floor to revise to accept the 2025-26 school year budget.
I move that we change our meeting time.
No, we got a motion on the floor for the voice, but in the meantime,
The what?
item number, item eight.
Yeah,
You know,
so stop.
the adopt the revised 25-26 budget.
I missed seeing that. I make a move that we adopt the revised 2025-26 budget.
Has been moved by Hargrave, second by Wilson, 2026, 2025, 2026 budget. Any objection? Motion carried. All in favor? Nay? Motion passed. L, consider a motion to roll millage forward for 2026 and authorize publication in order in accordance with the law.
Okay, that's just to roll the villages forward this time. It won't be that much, but it'll help general fund a little bit. And also, we are gonna have to look at possibly, rolling back on our bond service, because we can only collect what we need to pay the debt, and, we're gonna have to analyze that this year. It hasn't been rolled back for several years, so we'll have to look at that for this year. I'm asking for some calculations, maybe. But this is just approval for me to go forward with advertising and follow the, steps that we need to do. it. The details on how much and all that will come, once they, provide me with those numbers. I don't have those numbers yet.
So moved.
I second.
So move by Fountain, second by Conway, as we move forward with item M, roll call vote. I mean, not a roll call vote, it's all report. Yay. Item M, consider a motion to contract with Cap Risk Consulting Group to prepare our reports required by TSASB for the 2025-26 audit.
Okay. This is something that was a copy in your packet, and it is, an actuarial company that comes in and evaluates the retirement system liability and, state group liability for the system. It's required that we do it by law, and, it goes into our audit report. This is something you do every year, and, we're planning to use the same actuarial company that's been doing it for years.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? There's a motion on the table.
I move.
It's been moved by Gertrude and second by Hargrave to consider a consulting, Cap Risk Consulting Group to prepare our reports required by TSAP 2025-2026 audit. Item N, consider a motion to move Madison Parish Attorney Center. All in favor? Consider a motion to move Madison Parish Attorney Center impact back to the 400 Hall at Madison High School. Any question from the board?
Is that lawful, Joe?
Sorry?
Is that lawful?
What's that? Was it the high school? Yes.
Have we ever done that?
I don't know historically where your alternative schools is, but
It was the building here and all of the sites at the middle school, but it never was located inside school with the red key.
some districts do that, like, just like they do in-school suspension. Ms. Finley, what's the reasoning for that?
We just can't staff it any longer. It takes staff to man the, alternative school impact, and so that's moving back to the high school on a separate wing, which is where it was at one time before.
So who's gonna be, Dr. Rella is the principal at the high school and the middle school. Who's gonna be running the impact?
Dr. Reynolds.
All three of them?
Is he down? Did he express my opinion? I just really think that's a bit much. And it's something on the 400 hall, even though like we are being consolidated.
Come up.
When you say that it's moved on 400 hall, even though like the high school is being consolidated with the middle school, I think the community they confused about 400 hall, it's gonna be at the high school or the middle school. If it's at the high school, the original high school, it's access to the other children going to the gym, the band hall, and so forth, so on. So we need clarity as to which 400 hall would it be on?
The 400 hall at the high school, and you will be kept separate. There was an item that went to the board with the details about what that was supposed to be, in it.
So how would the TTs will come in through it, even though you say it'd be considered, because this is how the students choose to go out to the gym, in the band hall, in the field house.
Okay, let me read what it says, and you may know more about it from what I say. Madison Parish Alternative Center to be housed, in the 400 hall, utilizing classrooms 404, 406, and 408 To ensure a structured, secure, and supervised environment, the following procedures will be implemented. Scholars assigned to Impact will remain on the 400 hall throughout the day and will not leave the area unless authorized by Impact staff. Scholars will have access to the student restrooms located on the 400 hall, eliminating the need to travel to other areas of the campus. Lunch will be delivered to the scholars during their regularly scheduled lunch period. Scholars will remain in the Impact area while eating. Scholars assigned to Impact will enter and exit the 400 hall exclusively through the exterior doors adjacent to classroom 408. This designated entry and exit point will be used for all arrivals and dismissals unless otherwise directed by school administration. These procedures are designed to maintain a safe, orderly, and consistent learning environment while minimizing disruptions to the instructional program.
I used to, what Reverend Fountain alluded to a minute ago, the alternative school used to be on the McCall High School campus. We were housed outside in the what they call the trails actually. Anyway, there are several issues that I have with that. Are they going to come to school? They did not address it. Are they going to come to school at 8 o'clock or the required time with the regular students? Will they be bussed in and out at different times? And as she just expressed a second ago, that's the main thoroughfare for all students. And their access is to the, as she expressed, the gymnasium, the field house, the band hall. How do you, what plans did whoever came up with the great idea, did they think of those things that may come into play? For instance, if they're getting out of school at 3:15 with the regular students, it's going to be hard for school personnel to distinguish alternative students from regular students, and you're going to have, say for instance, if you've got students isolated, an alternative for, let's say, gang fighting. And at 3:15, when you let them out and everybody commingles, now you got those same alternative students with those other students posing a very serious risk. So I know what we did when we were there, and I was initial. I think one of the first groups that did alternative outside of Thomastown, which was the initial program. It's not a school; it's called a program. That's therefore, because if it's listed as a school, it has to have its own IDs and numbers for testing. So they keep it listed as a program. But those are some major concerns. Are they going to come to the campus because of the kids? Are they going to leave the campus because of the kids? What measures are they going to be in place to ensure the safety of my 9th grade high school grandson that's going to be down in the middle of the hall?
Well, that would be the administration. I can't address that. That would. I know Dr. Rebels was here, but he's not here now. And
was that Dr. Rebels' plan, or was that the K-12?
I'm not honestly sure who came up with all the details.
Right.
I did not.
And the thing is, the same amount of staff that is required.
But I can tell you this.
Yeah.
No, they will not have the same amount of staff, because if you not listen to the numbers, we can't support it.
Well, I understand you can't support it. I know quite well. We knew this 12 years ago you couldn't support it. And we, just like Reverend Fountain said, that this is not a new issue. It's nothing that I've served with several people on the board, so it's not a new issue. We clearly understand that point. So will the staff reduction only be limited to relieving an administrator per se in that staff, because those people in those classrooms are still going to be required to have a teacher? I think you may lose maybe 2 positions at best, maybe 3 of administrator, secretary, and probably a custodian. Is at best in terms of operating that alternative program.
That's the reason I was saying about that. Just like they have this, I think the board idea is big about looking at the school. I think the board should be able to go around and see how the thing's going to operate. That's why I'm saying I'm meeting every 2 weeks, because if we table it now and then you table it, we're going to meet again till next in August the 20th. So if we've been meeting every 2 weeks and we went down and looked at that thing, to know, because I'm kind of skeptical, putting like that, because the reason why me and Paula have a fight, and I find out a way how to get Paula back, I'm just that close to her at that school. That's what I know. I've been a monitor, hall monitor, volunteer monitor, and you really, and wife, if you go into the bathroom, you all gonna have to have somebody that's capable, who's watching these kids at all times, because they don't think when you ain't thinking to attack and to fight. That's why I'm kind of skeptical of they being that close. I never remember that it was like that. All I remember that we sent them to the alternate site was McCall Junior High School. We were taking their plates and whatever. But I just don't. I'd rather us to look at this.
This is one of the reasons that we need an interim superintendent. These decisions have to be made, things have to happen.
Right.
So what are they, what are they
And my great idea in reference to that would be to house alternative school over at the Tallulah Elementary over there, let the superintendent and them in their infinite wisdom, let them supervise alternative. Yeah, let them do that.
What are they gonna do with that field? That little.
Ma'am, so.
Then they come back.
Well, that's something that'll have to be decided if that's gonna be the case. But again, it was purchased with federal dollars, so it would go back to federal programs. If it was sold, it would not benefit general fund. But again, the issue is staffing. We've got to cut staffing.
As Reverend Thomas stated, when I worked at Brown Elementary in the middle school, he was one of the great disciplinarians that came to the school. So if you're gonna house the alternative school with the other schools, that is a major concern. And if our goal is to help our students excel at the put any role on Dr. Rivers, he already wears a lot of hats. I think that the tad bit of what he's capable of doing or not, you all should reconsider it, because we want our letter grade to change. And that is just too much for him to do. You all should reconsider that. Most alternative schools have their own principal, custodian, and their teachers in their house somewhere else. Tallulah Elementary is available. Put them over there with your supervisor. Well, if you have a supervisor, I think superintendent Love is gonna do it all. So someone should be housed over there. But that's just too much for Dr. Rivers. I really believe that's a lot. You don't know what it takes to manage a alternative site. And we don't have Reverend Fountain in the building. Because he is a school board member, so he can come in and assist, he come out third. But like he used to assist us, he won't be able to do that. You all should reconsider that.
And I think too, a lot of these decisions is pushing more to more students leave.
Absolutely.
Parents is not gonna want to
Right there.
look at, then the members to be looking at the board. Y'all making the children leave. But see, it's not our decision. We not making these decisions.
And as a parent, I would be afraid because I work at an alternative school, and students come straight from jail to my classroom. And some of them do have gang fights, and you know what? We have to have police and security there, because some of the offenses that they commit are serious. I had students in my class who have murdered someone. They went to court and they were locked up. How do you make sure that the entire school is safe? Because there's some things that fall in the community that they bring to the school. How does Dr. Rebels address that, address instruction, address the middle school? How?
But I asked, when I first heard that, I asked Dr. Rebels, are you sure? And he said that I still, he agreed, and I called him, are you sure? You know, he being the person who is, of course he said yes, but I don't see it. And I'm just praying that nothing don't happen or break out at the school.
But Devin, when I looked at one of them alternative schools, sometimes they don't have over 10, 12 students there. But that place couldn't hold that many. So if we did use Tallulah Elementary, one or two staff can hold up 10, but it wouldn't have to be down here.
I'm okay.
How many
Should I
staff
get
is
there
there
already?
in TE?
Huh?
How many staff is there in TE now?
And that would be the-
No staff.
I'm probably playing back, see, with 2 cars out there.
I just,
Everybody gone? Everybody gone?
I just know that kids don't need to be close to each other after they done had a gang fight. And I would, you know, it's y'all still a city, but I wouldn't do that. I would get, not that close.
Who's on the Christian acres today? Who's on your Christian acres?
Sounds like that's where it's all be.
I'm turning to school, have them online, give them a Chromebook, where they won't be at the school if they are like that. Some schools
You
do
know,
it for
the thing is,
protection.
we don't wanna let them go, because we'll lose money.
I don't know, you know,
Lose more money
whatever
by
the
keeping-
city, but I know right now, by me being 20 years working in the juvenile system, and I know when these kids fight, and all y'all know, they gonna fight. If they say they gonna get you, they still be mad. So we ain't got time to look at that. And we just table it and until we see and have another meeting, and we have another meeting to so our time don't run out.
That's not on this.
Oh, I don't want to, that's just a lot of, I don't want to put them there
You know,
because we
look,
don't.
folks, we're moving forward with this. If we don't move forward, we're all going to another year paying people again. I don't know how else to say to y'all, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. I don't know how else I can say it.
We're not saying we don't have the money, but we're trying to keep our other students that's not trouble students safe. And
Well, that's what we're trying to do too.
what
You
if
know,
they said if we put them in the same building, they're not
They'll be
safe.
schools, it's an ally school.
Can we do the Chromebook like other
We
schools
won't
are
get
doing?
MFE on, but that's okay, we're spending more than.
Would that be,
Possibly.
well, can we look at that? Would that be somewhere?
I think part of that is to keep them enrolled in school. That is part of why they do it that way.
Right.
Again, I'm saying that I'm having to address things with y'all that are education.
Right.
That's for somebody else to respond to.
Those children are growing up.
And the reason,
But I am
and
telling
the
you,
reason,
everything we talked about tonight that has obviously been controversy, or people with controversial, or people don't like or don't want, it affects numbers.
right.
And if we stopped at everything that we talked about stopping on, we're right back where we started.
Exactly.
We understand that you were focusing on numbers, but we are focusing on the safety of our kids. Our students, we have some students who are part of gangs, and they do bring things, so they should be taken into consideration. I know that it sounds like the goal is to reduce staff or reduce the number of employees, so you can help balance the budget, but you're looking at a lawsuit. You're looking at a lawsuit.
I'll give you information, I'll send to all board members and the fiscal administrator about a virtual alternative school and whether the district pays MFP. And that is not optimal, I understand that. It's not like brick and mortar, but it may be a compromise where safety is addressed,
Right.
and education is addressed, and we'll see if that's an option. And that will save you a lot of money.
Do they still have the
We
first?
grade results in Mississippi. Our students don't move and they don't co-mingle or intervene with anything at the school. They are not allowed to participate in any function. Everything they do is on the computer. And the school district has purchased a program, and it's up to the principals to assign them the correct courses so that they get credit. So when they do return to school, they are where they need to be, and they're not far behind. You have to purchase a program.
That used to exist here. That used to exist.
Right.
And
I'll have y'all email by noon tomorrow on virtual alternatives.
Yeah, can we, that motion, we're motioning table until we hear further from our attorneys, and we'll, look at it. Need a second?
I move that we table item N.
Second.
Roll call vote. All in favor?
Yeah. Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Item N has been tabled for further information by Highbrain County. Consider a motion to, appoint maintenance and grounds committee to review and discuss physical plant repair needs.
I'd ask for a committee to look at, we have some serious issues with some of our roofs. We also had some folks look at them, and they think that possibly we have some hail damage that we may be able to submit for insurance company. So we need to look at that, we need to discuss that. And then we have multiple, facility issues that we don't have money to do much, but we still need to talk about it, get on the table, and kind of make a priority list. But first of all, we need to determine what we want to do to move forward about looking to the insurance company about these roofs, et cetera. So that would be the first line of business. The committee is Reverend Fountain, Mr. Patterson, Ms. Guthrie, Dr. Rebels, Mr. Walford, Ms. Stewart, myself, and the interim superintendent.
Ms. Stewart not on there? Okay, Ms. Stewart, oh, you call his mom? Oh, okay. So moved.
Is it moved by Fountain, and second by Sophie, that we move forward with the grounds committee? Item P. Item P, that was added to the agenda. Superintendent Fountain.
Well, I just, our motion was on the table that we advertise for a superintendent immediately, and try to have him in before, after Labor Day. That was my motion. And that's the motion on the table. But, and then it said that the price of the insurance, I'm still on the motion that we advertise, so it's up to the board.
Question from the audience and board members? Is a motion on the table for whether or not to advertise for a superintendent?
I'm moving that we.
And Ricky second.
Okay.
Second by Fountain and second by Ricky. Board, any objection?
Do a roll call.
Roll call vote. District 1, District 2,
All right, call.
District 1.
Well,
We're voting on it to advertise for a superintendent. District 2 is absent. District 3?
yes.
District 4? District 5? Yes. District 6? District 7? District 8?
Yes.
By unanimous vote, we have agreed to advertise for a superintendent. And next month, yes, ma'am, you have to vote yes. So now we're down to, 3, informational non-action items.
Well, you're right.
The committee
The Louisiana Department of Education applied for an ed flex waiver, which will allow us to have more freedom to spend our Title IV money. In order for LEAs to have that same flexibility, I had to apply for the waiver. A part of applying for this waiver states that we have to allow public comments about how we're going to spend those funds. The waiver changes the percentages that we are to spend for each portion of Title IV. There are three. Number one, well-rounded student, which would include things like paying for dual enrollment, field trips, things that make the student well-rounded. Safe and healthy schools is the second, and technology usage, effective use of technology is the third. Previously, we had to spend at least 20% of the funds in well-rounded and safe and healthy, and then 15% at least for effective use of technology. What was happening to certain school districts where we weren't spending the money because we were confined to those percentages. This waiver is going to allow us to spend more money in well-rounded if we don't need the technology, or spend more money for safe and healthy if we don't need more for well-rounded. So it gives us complete flexibility. Now, that doesn't mean that we can just spend it on whatever we want to spend it on. There are still rules to follow. We're just not confined to those percentages. We have to allow the public the opportunity to comment on how they would like to see those funds spent. I have also included a comprehensive needs assessment for our district that shows some of the needs that we have for well-rounded, safe and healthy, and effective use of technology.
So we need to set up a meeting with the public so we can advertise.
Oh, they can come in now. I have put on the district website a survey. I shared the survey with all principals and asked the principals to put those on their Facebook pages. At this moment, today, we have not received any responses. So I wanted to bring it to the board meeting to allow the public the opportunity to speak on how they would like to see those funds used.
Is there any input from the public?
Title IV has three categories: the well-rounded student, safe and healthy schools, and effective use of technology. So those are the three things that we can spend the funds on. Right now, in well-rounded, we use it for field trips. I paid for several dual enrollment courses. For safe and healthy, we haven't done much, but this year in the grant, we wrote for a social emotional curriculum. I have budgeted vape detectors because we have so many infractions with vaping at the school, and we can detect the vapes before they start using them if we're allowed to purchase those. For effective use of technology, we use most of that for technology infrastructure, like purchasing hotspots, making sure that we have filters, so we can use it for that. The rest of the effective use of technology funds could be used to purchase things like Chromebooks for student use.
I have a comment. We teach life skills. They have purchased the curriculum that's online to the students that are at the alternative school, but the entire school district uses it. And I think our students lack some of the necessary
it's a hard pill to swallow, but you are a mandated report, and you must report things that they share, so it can be investigated, and you can do it privately if you don't wanna do it open.
Thank you, Ms. Emery, for that report. Now we're down to item B, is fiscal administrative report.
Superintendent, Mr. Chairman, before you get up, I'm gonna add, I probably in the report. If a person quit the job, resigned, and it was a person that we laid off, and we brought this person back, and this person been doing the same job for the last 6 months to 8 months. Person was full-time, then another person quit, and they brought this person back. This person been doing his job for the last 8 months. It's so easy to rip this out. But we had ripped this person, but we brought this person back. And I'm gonna give you the name, Friday, because the person been doing his job for 8 months, and they still got him sued. And he took a person's position that was already in the position full time, and ripped him and brought him back to the same position that the person had quit. This person been doing his job for almost 6-7 months, and still they sued. So I give you that name so you can check it out. Friday, you get a chance to talk to that person. If it's okay with you.
Okay, your reports that I have for you here, we'll go through them quickly. They're what you're used to seeing. If you have any questions, stop me. The monthly accounts payable report listing, there's actually one packet stapled, but you'll see about halfway through, you transition from the month of May to the month of June. May's was prepared for the prior month that we didn't have the meeting, and so I've attached to it the checks that were cut in June. Again, this is something you can call me about anytime. You can come and look at invoices anytime. The next report is the child nutrition report for general funds, paying back child nutrition every month for $25,000. Again, you'll see the transaction, the transfer for the June and the July payment. The June 2026 and then the July 2026, but that would be the first payment of the new year. Then the summary for the reduction in force. At this current time, the reduction in salaries and benefits for the general fund is projected to be $1,556,221. That's where we're at right now. This includes 5 employees in the reduction in force, 13 who received non-renewal letters, 5 positions were eliminated, and retirees and resigns are included in that number. The budget continues to evolve. We'll continue working on that as we go forward, and I'll continue to update you on those details. The next thing in your packet is notice that the suspension for out-of-state travel will continue for the 26-27 school year. Again, just can't afford to pay for out-of-state travel, or having to let people go. So that will continue. The RAN, we got the last draw. Dr. Butler signed the approval on June 29th. We deposited the last $500,000 into the general fund and into the RAN fund. So that's all of the RAN. Miscellaneous updates and reports. I just wanted to know, one of the things I had on there was the taxes that I've already referred to, and Mr. Green, I think, referred to too. There is a copy on the back of that section that has the detail on those payroll taxes. You can see the biggest part of them relate back to the 2023 year. Also, I wanted to make you aware that today the state sent us notification that we had to pay the $200,000 $255,000 back. That was for the federal monitoring that we had for the 2021 school year. Remember, we've been talking about it since all this started. And after it started out 1.5 million, there were documents and records that we could not produce. Everybody in the office looked for it. They could not be found. And then there were some things that were not allowed because they weren't spent based on what the budget was. So it was spent out of the category that was budgeted, or it was a cost that we sent a copy of that did not line up with the actual coding. So the coding was off. But anyway, they after several processes back and forth, they assessed Madison Parish for $255,000, which we knew it was there, but we just hadn't done it yet. But I got an email today saying it had to be paid tomorrow. So we cut a check today and we mailed the check today. So, have no choice. And I'm gonna add to that, that's the 2021 monitoring. We've got a lot of years between now and then that could still be monitored. And we could end up with some of the similar problems. So.
Thank you, Ms. King, for your report. I need a motion to, any more questions? Any more questions from the audience? Motion to adjourn. The move by Fountain,
Second.
second by Alvarez, to adjourn.